with darker men because dating them is like dating a cactus, which refers to a person or situation that is perceived as prickly, demanding, or difficult to approach. She says simply they have too much trauma that needs to be addressed. Well, let's work together to break down stigmas and build a more supportive environment for Black men to share their experiences and seek help. We believe that by acknowledging the trauma and pain, we can begin the journey towards healing and empowerment. Here are a few things Black men suffer from in the United States. Number one, racial trauma. Two, systemic racism. And three, violent trauma, to just to name a few, and much, much more. We will discuss potential issues Black men face in relationships due to trauma. Myself, the controversial counselor, and the Big Bad Wolf will share some of our personal antidotes as well. Another banger we are coming at you with. Please like and share our video, and don't forget to tell a Black man to tell another Black man to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. 949 subs, 51 away from our long awaited goal of 1K. Come join the journey. Be part of greatness, starting from the bottom, trying to reach the top. So, all right, here we are, Monday night, May 19th. May just flew by like it was nothing. This month is almost over. Here we have it. I think the countdown at school is like 19 days left of school. Um, and crazier by the day. And that's all I got so far. Just trying to get ready for the summer since I'm only working 10 months. So we'll be trying to put some things in place to make a few dollars over the summer and get ready for another year. Because actually, I posted something the other day said it's coming to the end of year 20 in Baltimore County and year 31 in education. So that's a lot of work in education, and it's been rewarding. It's been frustrating. Uh, I mean, the great thing is to impact others' lives, and especially see, some of my first students that I work with that, they're doctors and some nurses and entrepreneurs and things of that nature. And then I kind of stepped down to the middle school level, but I broke it down and said I had did 10 years at the college level. This is my 12th year in middle school, 8 years at the high school level, and then 1 year at the elementary level. So vast array of experience, and kind of well rounded to it. And I don't know, should I call myself the self-proclaimed goat? Because I doubt if anybody ever worked at all four levels. But I'm not gonna call myself that. I'll let somebody else call me that. All right, here we go. Latravia said, "Let me in." Well, you got to click the link to get in. I sent you the link.
I just dropped the link in the chat, dear. There you go.
All right, so, well, what's going on with you, Big Bad Wolf?
Uh Shoot, man, might be picking up another job, trying to drop some weight. The oddly enough, well, I'll just say I'm looking for another job. If you click the link, it should take you to StreamYards, and you'll just click on it'll give you the option. It should give you the option to use YouTube or Facebook. Just click on Facebook, and it should bring you into the back. Um, that man had a little medical mishap over the week, fellas. I'm here to tell you, take care of your ears. I know it sounds really, really foolish. It sounds so simplistic, but I would tell you either having an earache, which I was fortunate not to have, or having your ear compacted with wax is not fun. It's the equivalent of having a toothache that you can't do anything about. Nothing. I was able to weather the storm, and I understand what ladies. I get it. I fully do. I understand what y'all mean. What y'all say, men are babies when they sick. I am a terrible person when I'm sick, quote unquote. I am not fun to be around. I didn't want to go to work, but I had to. And it's difficult when everything that I do is based out of my right ear, answer the phone, and I realize I'm right ear dominant when I'm talking to guests because I'm always turning this way. It was just miserable, but I'm glad that is over. Even though Saturday night turned out to be kind of a wild night with somebody potentially being sex trafficked in. Yeah. Y'all think David got some stories? You said it's not letting you in. What do you let me see if I can figure this out, David. Let me see if I can send are you when you click the link, what do you get? Or are you copy and paste the link in your browser and see if that'll help. Because what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pop back. I'm gonna pop out of Facebook here. I'm gonna still be on the live stream. I'll see if I can bring her up. I'm gonna see if I can get her name.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But not to have any dead air.
Yeah.
So the subject matter about trauma, and like I said, we've talked about it before. We talked about trauma, toxicity, masculine toxicity, and different variations of stuff dealing with this subject matter. And it, I mean, it's real. I'm one who try not to harp on this stuff, and I just feel like you have to just keep it moving and keep pushing. And if you we know oftentimes that our back is against the wall in a lot of situations and circumstances. And I always try to tell young people that, like, listen, it's not gonna get no easier. You know, for them to conduct themselves a certain way. And sometimes I often think that even when you're in relationships, you know, some women are compassionate and they get it. And some, if they haven't had um, the same familiar struggles, I guess it's hard to identify um, with it. But I think when a man, if he's expressing certain things that he's been through, you know, I think you should, give him a supportive ear. Now, if it's someone who's not trying to do anything about it and they're talking about, racism all the time, the violence, trauma, uh, systemic racism, and to and that's just naming a few. But let me look at my notes here, see, and sort of like the criminal justice system, some of the obvious things, economic disparities. If it's constant, but they're not trying to do anything about it, and it's breaking and nagging you down, that you may feel like I'm in a relationship with a cactus, or as another statement was made, that talking to sometimes being in a relationship with a black man is like dealing with a badass kid. So if it's to that nature and you feel it's toxic, then you're gonna have to do something about it eventually. But I understand if you with that person, sometimes you probably have to deal with those frustrations and kind of hopefully work it through it and be a support system. If you got anything to offer try to move them forward. Because the last thing you want is somebody to be traumatized throughout an entire relationship and always dealing with that trauma because that could be a lot. And I
Yeah,
don't.
this is you. Well, you said Dave. Oh, go ahead.
Shout out to Rogue is it Rogue Pill for thanks for joining us tonight in the counselor's corner. But yeah, I'm done for now.
You, this is really, and we are. You hear the term multifaceted often. This is really one of those topics that is because generally David and I focus on things more or less from a male perspective, but this is definitely oh well Dave will answer that in a moment. This is it's like so many things in Black America. Men are supposed to take the weight. Whether that's financial, relationship wise, anything, because we're supposed to be the de facto leaders naturally. The only problem with that, as Dave has mentioned in a few of those ways, is we were never really set up to be that way. We are the only ethnicity in the United States of America where that's inverted. In other words, men do not lead that culture. We can look at evidence of the statue that was just erected in Times Square in New York. When has there ever been a statue erected like that in a major city of a Black male figure, other than maybe Martin Luther King in Atlanta or in DC? That's it. But he was a national figure. The woman that was posted in New York City is supposed to be just an everyday working class Black woman. So when you look at our culture, not only is our culture inverted, everything about us is inverted. Now, people will consistently say that white men don't vilify their women like that. That this, and I'm here to tell you, they do. You don't hear about it because that's not something you focus on. I can name at least 3 or 4 Caucasian male podcasters who rip into their women worse than what we do. Turd Flinging Monkey, Rollo Tomasi, Better Bachelor. The manosphere at large encompasses more than just Black, but because Black men have our own specific issues and gripes with our women, there was a spinoff. That's just the short version. So yes, as BGS would say, shout out to BGS. There is a there because you have a segment of men who are no longer available to date in the United States of America. And for the most part, that's the cream of the crop. If most Black women had their options to date, it would be those men. Those men are no longer there. Shout out to Victor. Victor and I was having a conversation about this, and he said that, and that was something I never considered. Me personally speaking, I'm not in the dating pool for most women, regardless of their ethnicity, because my standards and what I require are so stringent that 80% of them just not going to be shot. I say that in all actuality. I know Dave's cracking up because he might be thinking about the football, but I'm serious. It goes beyond football and furniture moving. And that's not to say I'm that high value man, quote unquote. That's not to say I got money so much that I can blow my nose and throw it away. It's just that what I ask for, most women can't meet. And that's no shame on them. That's no shot at them. That's just where I am right now. Because I will say a couple of things, and I go ahead, Dave.
So you said 80%. So basically, if I'm doing the math, maybe out of 2 out of 10 women would have a chance with you. But also, you said most of the things that you asked for, that many of them, can't offer or can't produce. Give me two of your
Right.
top things that you asked for. Two of them.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to let the cat out the bag. Hold on. There we go. Okay. All right, now sit down and let me do my show. All right, I'm gonna catch some flack for this. I already know, and it's probably gonna be clipped. But I refuse categorically to even consider dating a female who can't compete. Put it on the book, put it on the big screen, as Obsidian will say.
Mr.
I
Last part, what
refuse.
you said, they can't what?
That can conceive.
Oh, okay.
In other words, okay. In other words, if you're capable of getting pregnant, you might as well not even approach me. And if you're thinking you're gonna fool me, you got another thing coming. I don't care if you're on birth control. I don't care if you have tubal ligation. I don't care. Tubal ligation might be a bit much, but the other forms of birth control, you might as well forget it. I don't care how attractive you are. I don't care how much money you got. It doesn't matter. If you've been following our platform long enough, you will know my run-ins with women who've lied about paternity. I'm not going down that road anymore. That's number one. Number two, tattoos. You forget about it. You got tattoos. I don't care how minuscule they are. And yes, I have a female that I roll with that she has tattoos, but she's already past the muster. Okay, so anybody that might by chance see us out together, yeah, she good people. So she already know she good people. She ain't got to. She has to do no convincing. No, it's not that I don't want children. I don't have children, so I'm not going down that road. At 53, nah. There's no we need to talk coming this way. You might as well walk on by. You might as well play that song and put it on repeat because it's not happening. And like I said, if you think you're gonna lie to me about it, you got another thing coming because that's something else I can't stand is being lied to and being lied upon. I'll cut you off. I'll make you look like you're invisible standing in front of me. So those are at least two of the things, among other things. And I've already talked about the wardrobe thing, the camo gear. Yeah, I'm gonna lay it bare tonight. Fuck it. I'm gonna lay it bare tonight. So the camo, your clothes. If you don't have at least what I have, and people that know me know this goes back years, decades. I don't have a car. I haven't owned a car in 20 years. You know what? Don't need to. I do everything I need to without a vehicle. So if you don't have at least your own space, for your kids, you're working full time or whatever. Dang, I tried to tag you and it wouldn't let me tag you. Give me a second, dude. I'm gonna send you the link. So if you're not working full time or have a steady source of income, you talk about you got to do this for me, you got to do that for me, all of that stuff, you can miss me with that. I'm not that dude. I got my own house. But, hey, we goody. I haven't, like I said, I haven't owned a car in 20 years. And then women wonder why the woman said today what they said. If a car is the reason why you refuse to date a man or entertain a man, hey, we good. But do understand, and this is what I said. Remember what was the cat's name who said that man could never date his daughter if he didn't have a car? When we were on
Uncle Jesse.
Yeah. Now you go to a city like New York. Guess what? Most men don't own. They don't own a car. I go to a major city like Toronto. Guess what? Most people don't own a car, and they manage to do well. This is how people sell themselves short, which is why I never try to convince somebody what their standards are. If those are your standards, rock out. I'm good. I'm not changing my style. I'm not changing what I do for nobody. Because if it was working for a woman, guess what? She would already be wifed up. And most of the women that had those standards, they ain't wifed up. So me trying to go get a car just to impress somebody when I don't use one, senseless. If I need to go somewhere out of town, guess what? I have a house, which means I have credit. I'll rent a car. I have a valid driver's license. I'm more than capable of driving. I've driven quite a few places over the last 2 decades. Like I said, I haven't owned a car in the last 2 decades, but that's the those are a few of the more impactful things. Drug use, I really don't smoke. We never have. So if you know the type that like to hang out at hookah lounges and you smoke and all, where we probably not gonna get along. But like I said, on Sundays from September to February, I'm unavailable. And that's been a long standing thing. So if you think you're gonna shoehorn your way in and forget about it, ain't happening. Church, I don't go to church. Religion, I'm not a religious person. Do I believe that there's a higher power? Yeah. His name is not Herbert. Whatever you want to call him, you can call him. But I'm not going to worship you with him. My diet is pretty much set. I don't eat beef. I don't eat pork. So you taking me out to a steak restaurant and all that stuff? No, I'm not married. I'm unattached. And if you're asking, am I happy? Happiness is a word that I don't use. Am I content? Very much so. I have a life that's pretty active in terms of what I do. I never want for anything. If I want for something, I go earn it. That's the way I was raised. That's the way I get down. I'm good with my life as is. And this is running back to this topic. This is what a lot of women, especially black women, since the topic was generated by one, don't understand about men like me.
So let me ask you this, sir. Would you consider yourself emotional unavailable?
You know what? No. I am exceedingly emotionally available to the right person. Yeah, I saw the comment. But I see the comment. But see, and then they wonder why they don't get brothers to choose from. If you see the comment, you see the comment. I'm not going to dignify the comment. I'm not even going to dignify the comment because for me, it displays a lack of intelligence. I didn't say anything about not eating meat. I said I don't eat beef. I don't eat pork.
Wow.
See, this lets me know that we dealing, and I'm calling people out since you want to be in the chat trying to take shots. This lets me know that I'm dealing with a low IQ person. You're not ready to deal with the wolf. If you were, you can figure out how to work the link. But since you can't, take your remedial ass on. I'm not the dude for that. I'm not that cat. I bite. The hollers will let you know I bite. And my shit's kind of venomous. This is why motherfuckers on the show talking about fuck you, and they can't get back into my life. Yeah, y'all wanted it, you got it. Give me a second, Dave.
Man. that just cracks me up.
Yeah, man.
Right, so,
there it is. Then I just shot you. Yo, GPA don't mean shit to me, shorty. Really, because if you were that type of person, that type of thought would have never materialized in your head to post. What does what I do sexually have to do to pertain to black women getting a mate? We call it a backhanded compliment where I come from. I don't know where you come from. And at my age, you probably don't even qualify to meet the bar. You got to be at least 35 to even ride this ride. So what are you in the chat talking about any damn way? What you can't. Let me stop before I go there. Let me stop.
So you said a woman has to be at least 35 for you to deal with.
Okay. Oh, now she's playing. Yeah.
You never know what's going to be said or written in the counselor's corner. But when you think about some of the trauma and dealing with relationships, and I ask you, was you emotional unavailable? Then oftentimes, the trust issue factor. past experiences can lead to difficulties in trusting partners. So some guys, may have gotten the short end of a stick in relationships. And sometimes those is, sometimes they say the nice guys finish last. And sometimes those guys, that may be the case in their experience when they were younger. That's a hard truth every man must remember.
Oh, go ahead, finish. I'm gonna read them later. I just wanted to do, since you had mentioned that, I wanted to put this up so women understand some things.
Yeah, so and a lot of times if those guys got the short end of the stick when they were younger, but they, kept grinding and they strive to now you said you got it up. You said for people to read or you want me to, well, I can't really see that.
No. I'll read them later.
Okay.
I'll read them later. I just thought it was apropos that you said that, and I had this list sitting here because I came across it while doing some show research.
So, and then those guys, they grind hard and they end up being successful. And you say, damn, he got it going on now. And in the back of his head, especially if you're like in a small town, a small city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's going on, brother?
Now, see, there's a man with intelligence. He's figuring out how to work the link. I the same thing I did for Day, I did for you. I sent the link to your inbox. Check the other folder. It might be in there. You still can come up. You still can get there.
Good evening, gentlemen.
What up, Day? Good to have you back, man. Always a pleasure.
Also, it's a pleasure to be amongst the good brothers.
Yeah. So let me just finish my thoughts. So those guys, it might be in the back of their head. So they may be difficult to deal with, and some of the things that you may think, like, damn, this brother tough, and you may view it as trust issues, and it could be, but his tolerance may be low for nonsense. So therefore, sometimes they always say, watch the bridges that you burn, or whatever the case is, because you never know how somebody's gonna turn out, or down the line. That could be you could be interviewing with that person, or different things. So that's why the word is always try to preach kindness and stuff, but we know that don't always happen. But I think that's one of the things that maybe the brothers when they were younger who didn't have success, but they kept grinding and was doing well in school, they might be the ones that you looking at like, damn. So just keep that in mind too. But we'll probably go back to that. I just wanted to drop that thought.
Latasha, check your. Give me a second. Facebook has two inboxes. One for people that are on your friends list, and another one for people that aren't on your friends list. Check your inbox for people who are not on your friends list, and the link should be there. That link should bring you directly to StreamYards, and you should be able to get in just like Dane did.
I clicked the link
through the link too.
I got into the link on the chat, so you can click the link on the chat and get right on in.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
It's fairly simple.
And then some people's their setups are set so they can't access it via a third party, which is what StreamYards would be considered in terms of Facebook. That's to keep them listing stuff out. So that might be what's blocking you too. Are you using a phone or are you using a desktop computer? Because I know phones are kind of funky like that. They just do.
Rogue Pill said, a happy heavenly birthday to Minister Malcolm X. Yeah, it is his birthday. Yes. So happy birthday to the great Malcolm X. All right. Moving along. Oh, no, I'm done. I'm done with my point. Okay. We was talking about the trust issue.
this was a question that my brother, maybe about a month ago, he had asked me. He said, "What were my top 3 things that I would like to have in a relationship in terms of a female?" I said, "Trust, respect, and honesty." Trust and honesty, although they may seem to be the same, they are not. The
Mhm.
one key difference is if I have somebody that's honest on my side, I never have to question them. Never. About nothing. Because I know who they are. And, hey, young lady, thank you for
Hey,
getting in.
Hey, how you doing?
hey,
Great.
Hola.
babies.
What's going on?
Hey,
Give me a moment. Let me finish this up. So trust and honesty, they are integral to me. I operate on them. I function on those. Anything else, I just, in all honesty, I can't entertain. It's gonna be a no for me. Latasha, Dane, either one of you can speak if you want to.
Oh, it's a nice topic.
Uh,
Um,
well,
it's pretty.
go
It
ahead,
was
Dave.
pretty much trauma that the black man experienced, the burden and the weight that we hold. So it dealt with like the trauma with black men. And a black woman had stated that she kind of has backed off from black men because they had too much trauma in their life, and it's just too much to deal with.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So that's what we was trying to
What
talk
trauma
about.
are we speaking of? That she brought up.
She just made reference to dealing with black men is like dealing with um, someone dealing with a badass kid or being in a relationship with a cactus, and things of that nature. Certain things, metaphors and stuff was thrown out. So I decided to say, hey, let's talk about the trauma.
Indeed, I've definitely experienced a lot of brothers who definitely have some unhealed childhood traumas, and they bring it forward in their adulthood. But what I've noticed is that that's pretty much most people's experience as adults. None of us are trained to handle conflict. None of us are trained to deal with the chaos that life brings us. So most of us spend our whole lives stuck in this quote unquote unhealed trauma. And so you as someone who does strive to work yourself out of that, you'll begin to notice that a lot more often than not. But yeah, in my opinion, like you should expect, not you should, but it is to be expected that the majority of the people that you deal with, both males and females, they're going to have some level of unresolved conflict within themselves that they haven't resolved yet, and so they will be projecting that conflict onto you throughout the entirety of the relationship.
I do agree that I there were 5 things that I listed. One is height. Another one is financially lacking, poorly educated, abusive, and prickly. And men, especially black men that are born in the United States of America, Gen X and younger, you're going to find at least 2, maybe 3 of those in every black man that you encounter, myself
Mhm.
included. The only question is, how did that man overcome those so those are no longer a burden or an impediment to a female aligning herself with him? But therein lies the bigger problem, is that a lot of people that are out here dating, they don't A, know themselves, and B, they don't know what they want.
Oh
So
yeah.
if you don't know the self, and you don't know what you want, then you out here groping in the blind, just like the next person you might align, you might go to bed with. And I've said this on this platform, and people have boo-hooed me and all of this. I said, take sex off the table. And a lot of people and a lot of women say, well, how do you do that considering that's what men are after? I said, it doesn't matter the man. If that is where the relationship is going to progress, then it's going to progress to that point. Nothing is going to stop it. What you don't want that to do is you don't want that to be the focus of why you're getting there. And I tell women this: the first time you meet a guy, if you're unsure, put it on the table straight out. Ask him, say, hey, look, I just want to go home and have sex. And you're not listening, okay? You're not listening for his response. You're watching for his response. Because if he recoils, more than likely he's disgusted, which is probably the response that you want. And if he says, okay, well, you already know what he's about. So you can eliminate him. A lot of men, I can't speak for women, a lot of men are afraid of the word no from a woman. They just are. It traumatizes them. It stops them from moving forward. It's almost as if the world has been shattered. And I'm here to tell you, you know what? You would rather hear the word no from a woman up front than 4 months down the line, because you gain nothing. And I'll tell men, stop pursuing women just for sex. Far be it for me to say that, because I've had plenty. But yeah, I'm here to tell you. The wolf is here to tell you, stop pursuing women just for sex. Because if that's all you want, that's all you're gonna get. Now, I'm not saying you can't desire her sexually, but if that's the only thing that you can get from her, you might as well go build with somebody else. You might as well find somebody else that, in addition to sex. Remember the clip you just posted, Dave, about the movie tickets, the $700 movie tickets?
Oh yeah.
When we had the full panel.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a reference that. There's a reason why I would never have a problem spending that kind of money on a female to take to a concert, because I value her beyond what's between her legs. That woman and I have established a rapport that I can pick up the phone and call her and talk to her just about anything. A lot of fellas, we don't have that. We don't have a female that we can, a female friend, not family member, female friend, that we can pick up the phone and we can talk to about things that are just relative to females. Why? Because most of them we chased off because we're trying to have sex with them. And they'll say, well, do I look like something that I'm just going to walk into your life and you're just going to bed me? And some fellas will say, yeah. Okay. And did you wonder why you have the situation that you do? You can't count on nobody to talk to nobody when you actually need somebody to talk to. We all need a better half that we can sound things off that are the opposite gender, because we can't see through their eyes. We don't have the feelings. We don't have the dispositions or emotions. Go ahead, Dave. You can say something?
But also, I think it ties in, if you're spending that amount of money, it's probably somebody that would reciprocate it too. Like, you don't have no problem to spend, because you know that person is willing to say, hey, it could be out of the blue. Hey, I got these tickets here, or I was thinking about, I know you would enjoy this, so I bought these tickets, and they don't have no problem. A lot of times y'all want to, I ain't doing all that shit. I ain't spending nothing. He got to do this and he got to do that. And that's where the problem lies, whatever, because when you think about a future wife, whatever, you want someone who is a balance, that she gonna say, I got you today, and yeah, it's interdependence, like y'all feed off of each other, strengths and weaknesses, or during whatever that time. So if you're someone who thinks you can't do anything, or you're not willing to do it, and think that guy's supposed to always come at you, dropping money and all that stuff, then I don't know. You're gonna get what you're gonna get too.
Factuals.
And you know the funny thing about what you just said, David? Oh, go ahead, Dane. I'm sorry.
I was going to just say, I've noticed that when women typically ask for stuff, that's when they don't get anything. But when they don't ask for anything, that's when they get the world from the man. And I was personally doing an interview of myself, and I was just thinking back after I saw that post. I was like, damn, like, have I ever did that? And I realized like every woman I've ever been with who I just wanted to buy stuff for or do nice things for, like she never asked me for anything, but I was always just like, oh, you want to go here? You want to go there? I'm asking her where she want to go, all that kind of stuff. But every woman that was always demanding stuff, it was just like to your point, her like, nope, nope, you get nothing. And it kind of whittles the relationship down to just sex, because that's the only thing that she's really offering is what's between her leg. You know, she's not offering anything outside of that. And so I think as men, sometimes we are pretty keen on spotting that in women, to where it's like, if she's only presenting that sex is on the table, then yeah, like as a man, then we're gonna just start thinking, you know, doing a cost benefit analysis. Okay, well, what's the least amount of effort I need to put in to get this sex? But if it's more so she's offering things outside of sex, then I think that's what opens us up to just want to keep her around, but also wanting to just do things for her, just on, you know, through our own fruition, without her having to ask anything, because now we're paying attention to what she's saying, what she likes, what she's saying she likes, and then we're going out of our own way to go get those things for her, do those things for her, or buy those things for her, as opposed to just her sitting up just demanding that, you know, you do all these things for her conditionally for her to do something for you. I think that's what really turns most men off to wanting to do nice things for women that they want men to do for them.
Now, I want to bring Latrivia in, but remember her back in the days, not back in the days, but years ago, I used to always talk about, damn, could a brother get a sandwich? Could he get a damn sandwich from a damn
brother? Can't get no sandwich.
Yeah, we couldn't even get a sandwich or some chips or whatever. I don't cook. I don't do it. Like, I don't do anything. But the truth of the matter is, as we've seen, after the pandemic and all that, these restaurants are shit. So I would prefer a woman that can cook and take the time and you know, put that love and that time and that dedication. But you know, you have a lot of them. I want to go out to eat. I want to go out to eat and pay this money for what? For small ass samples or something, whatever. Because it's like this shit is samples out here. They give it out now. It ain't even a full meal. Giving you a little sample, a little taste, and that's just like a turn up. You eventually, but I know they always say, well, it depends on how long we're in the relationship. I invite no man over my house and this and that. All of this stuff that I think they just be saying because it sounds good. I don't even think they have no time limit. It depends on who the individual is that can slide up in there. It just depends on the individual. But Latreva, what you got to say? Because we said a whole lot.
Good evening. Oh, y'all can hear me?
Yeah.
So first of all, I mean, I believe in reciprocity, you know, give and take. It's not all on the man to buy me this, buy me that. No, let me spoil you too. Let me help you out. Let me be there for you at your lowest. You know, I'm not one of these girls, you know, that's, oh, a nigga gotta have $40. Like, no, like, let me see where your head is. Let me see where your mind is. Can we, you know, build something together? That's what my thoughts are when I deal with a man.
I have a question. You said, I believe in reciprocity. Like, how do you believe that works in reality when it comes to like the male-female relationship?
I mean, first of all, you gotta get on somebody. You gotta be with somebody y'all equally yoked. Y'all have to share the same mentality first, and it becomes natural. Like me, say for instance, you and I were dealing with each other. You take me out one day, the next time, babe, my treat. You know, that's how I do things.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah. Because relationship RE starts with, you know, relationship, reciprocity, same letters. Who just wants to be used all the time?
Well, let me ask you this then. How when or wherever you meet men, how difficult is that for you, prospectively speaking? If you are looking for men, I'm not sure what your situation.
It's not difficult at all. It's not.
Because there's a lot of people who don't share. I believe you. And I'm one of the same accord when you talk about that. But there's a lot of people who don't believe that. They say they have difficult time finding suitable men.
When do you guys believe the reciprocity process works? I mean,
You
not works,
said
but like
when?
when do you believe the reciprocity process begins?
I mean,
For example,
instantly.
go.
Like, say, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, for example, because
No,
specifically
you
the
good.
male-female relationship, typically the man is going to be the first one to make the quote-unquote first move. So he's going to give something, whether
Yeah.
it's his time to say hello, an offer to go get drinks or for dinner or anything else he's offering. And so, like I said, when does the reciprocity process begin as far as a woman is concerned?
When I see that he's into me, like, say, for instance, you found me attractive and you asked me for my number. So you said, hey, Friday, let's go out to eat. So we go out to eat. The next week I said, hey, look, I get paid. Let's go out to eat, my treat. That's how it is. Because I
So when
don't
you
want a
say
man to feel like I'm just a leech.
not to cut your wisdom off, but when you say attraction, like what do you mean by that? Because it seems like a lot of times we conflate lust for love, or we will say
Humans are
like,
very
oh,
visual creatures. So like you meet me, you're like, oh well, she's cute, or she's brown skinned, she works, she got her head on straight. That may bring your attraction. Men are visual. Humans are visual people.
so lust is
Well,
basically what we
initially
mean
it
by when
starts
we
off
say
as lust.
attraction.
Like when you meet a girl, you don't say, "Dag, I wonder if she got a master's degree." The first thing that draws your eye to is how she looks.
Lust, right?
The same thing with draws
Hold on,
my eyes. Go
let me
ahead,
get in there for a moment, Dane. I'm sorry. Let me help you out. Is it Latasha or Latasha?
Latasha.
Okay.
You
I
don't know my
think what
name.
she's
We just
talking.
had a whole debate. We just had a whole diss track, and you
I
don't know
know.
my
I
name.
just wanted to make sure I was pronouncing it correctly. That's all. I hate to mispronounce somebody's name. Dane, I think what she's talking about is the attraction that a man has for women, and this is something that Dave and I have talked about. I've seen some women that look good because I can visualize them in something that I want them to wear.
Yeah.
So what will I do? I will go out and get something for her that pleases my eye.
Mhm.
That's the attraction that most civilized men are going to look for. Yes, the lust is the undergird,
Mhm.
but and this is something you posted. I'm gonna reference what you posted, and we know who. I don't like to say her name. She said the stoic man. See, the stoic man behaves in a way that's different from the average rank and file brother, and he moves in that way.
Yeah.
So when he sees a female, regardless, she's wearing the typical Middle Eastern garb.
Mhm.
So the average brother's not gonna look at her in a sensuous way because it doesn't project itself in what she's wearing. So he has
Right.
to figure out a different way to come at her, and he can't come at her sideways because if he do, he's gonna get dikembe. He's gonna get blocked.
Facts.
And see, that's what a lot of brothers can't have, especially the brothers that come from the street. They can't come at her with a young sister. That's not gonna happen. So now you got to actually see what she's about, regardless of what she has. And that's probably why she doesn't have the problem dating. I'm similar. I'm the same way. If I see a female out in booty shorts, and yes, sometimes a duck link for you. If I see a female out in booty shorts and half dressed and tatted up, I'm not even going to acknowledge her existence. She's just in my way. Let me clear her out the way for something else that might be out there. But we got a lot of brothers, a lot of younger brothers who have been socialized that is the type of woman they need to shoot for. And then when they touch that iron and it's hot and they get burned, they say, well, damn, I look out here and as far as the eye can see, that's all the women that I see. So they don't know how to step back, retool, and say, you know what? I need to go somewhere where the women don't dress like that, where the women don't behave like that, where they dress more modestly. They actually, when they wear a dress, they're wearing a dress.
Facts.
They're out here to get attention because they look good, but they're not out here to get attention because they look like tramps. There's differences. And when you start to hit those differences, you start to elevate what it is that you attract. Because shout out to Ron Wills. Ron Wills often talks about him just sitting at a bar eating his buffalo wings and him being approached by women. When you get to that level of attractiveness for men to where your attractiveness attracts things to you, life becomes so much easier.
Mhm.
This is why I always tell people I never have a problem dating. But for me, what I consider dating is a lot different than what everybody else out there considers dating. As soon as I see a female, matter of fact, I'll use this analogy. I was at my brother's 65th birthday party. Did you see any of the dancing for this day?
Dancing footage? No, actually, I
Yeah,
didn't see any of the footage.
okay. There was a female, head to toe, put together. I was like, ooh, behave well. And then I thought about something. I said, what if she looked like pregnant? And it just killed the vibe. She had no idea, no nothing. But that's how I move. But so you have a lot of cats that can't move
So,
like that. They're not self-regulated. No, she
so
was
her,
fine as hell, dude. She's fine as
so
hell.
no, so why did you move like that when? Hopefully, I'm thinking she probably was close to your age.
Oh no, she works with my brother, so I know she's legit. And yes, she was close to my age. I was like I said,
So
man,
why did that pregnant thought come into your mind?
because I had to run everything through the mainframe.
But even if
Everything
she was
through.
like close to 60,
No, well, that would have been different, but she wasn't. She was in the mid-30s. I'm,
what
I'm,
brother?
I'm,
Oh,
I'm my brother's my brother had his 65th birthday party, but the range of people that were there were from, the mid to
okay.
late 30s on up. I'm people have to let me full disclaimer. I am an excellent judge of age because I had a job that was predicated on me being able to look at people and in 3 or 4 seconds figure out if they were younger than 30 or older than 30. My livelihood depended on that. That's why I'm good at looking at people and figuring out their age, or at least somewhere about there. So when I say these types of things, don't think it's hyperbole. I'm good. I'm real good. just an FYI, full disclosure. I had to do, like I said, it was my job to figure out if somebody was old enough to be in a certain place or not. And rarely was I ever wrong. Rarely. And I'm talking about over years.
Okay. All right. All right. So that was one of the things that we was talking about trust issues. But what about communication challenges that some black men have in regards to emotional regulation, conflicts, or withdrawing, people shutting down, or everything's a conflict? You have some. Hey, I can admit myself. Sometimes I'll just shut down. I'm not about to argue with. I'm not about to say shit. And I might just believe that sometimes silence is golden and speech is silver. And I just may just let somebody just go ahead, run your mouth, get off. I'm not gonna pay you no mind, or I'll get locked in on some things that I do and get focused. And you're just gonna be ignored for a while until I come back around. So that's a part of the communication too that sometimes I know women don't like when that happens.
Yeah.
You're not being in their face being violent, whatever, but you're being kind of like, yo, I'm minding my business. We got into it. I'm in my space. Why you still trying to nitpick? I'm not bothering you. I'm not in your face. They don't like that either.
I just actually did an interview on conflict resolution with one of my mentors, and he told a very interesting story to help me understand like how conflict begins. And he talked about how he was walking down the street in New York one day and he had lost his balance and he had stepped, you know how you lose your balance and you kind of take a step to the right, but he stepped in between another gentleman, and the gentleman immediately, went into battle mode and kind of, scooped him up and was just like, you're not about to try me, yada, yada, yada. So then he was like, I just stuck my hand out and say, like, hey, my name is John, how are you doing today? And that pattern disruption made the guy release him, shake his hand, and then like they start walking down the street. And then the guy mentioned to him, he was like, yeah, I figured that you couldn't have been a bad guy if you were willing to, extend your hand out to, introduce yourself to me while I had you, you know, hemmed up. And so the point there was that there was no conflict until the gentleman told himself that this guy was trying to try him based upon a story he conjured up from some experience in his past that made him react in a way to, you know, grab this guy up. So when it comes back to the brothers and just in life and in relationships, a lot of our issues with communication stems from unresolved conflicts within ourselves. So we're dealing with a woman and, you know, she says something to us and we immediately tell ourselves some story from our childhood, most likely about, you know, how some, you know, authority figure treated us that she's representing in this case. And so we shut down, we stonewall because we didn't like that type of treatment as a child. So now as an adult, you know, we don't like that either. But as opposed to us understanding that, you know, we're not a kid anymore. So, you know, there's no reason for us to feel naked, scared, and afraid like we were in that moment as a child. Then we, as an adult, we, you know, we shut down and then we don't communicate and we're not able to move the relationship forward or just resolve whatever discrepancy or grievance is on the table that the woman may have brought to the man to address. And so we have to understand that we have to address our own conflicts first within and not allow these stories that we're telling ourselves from our childhood to prevent us from having these conversations to resolve these grievances so that we can move forward in the relationship.
Yeah, that's true. You know, like earlier tonight, you know, I was playing with what's his name? Herb Lewis. He said that he was beef, pork, and something. So I said, so do you eat pussy? If you eat pussy, you eat meat. And he went the fuck off.
That's the wolf. Go ahead, dear. I'm sorry. Let me not interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, it's cool. And he went the fuck off. He was like, you unintelligent and all this other stuff, right? The whole time I was playing with him. But he like really wanted, he really wanted to go.
What I always tell people is this. From the chat, is difficult for me to discern if somebody's playing or not.
I was playing, like, you know.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Had you said, I'm joking before you started in on your line, I would have never responded like that. I always tell people, I'm a kind, gentle wolf.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of wolf that's gonna help you get home.
Yeah.
When you are lost. That I could let me tell this story. Saturday night, I work at a hotel. I got a call from a lady who was kicked out of the casino. She was lost, didn't know what she was going on. I'm trying to give her directions to get to our hotel. She couldn't figure it out. Our hotel is less than a quarter mile away from the casino. So I left the hotel, went to look for her. Couldn't find her. I came back. Half an hour later, same thing. She said she had the sex trap. Went back out there. Now myself and the police are looking for her. Now understand, this is not part of my job. I do that because this is who I am.
Yeah.
So eventually she showed up at the hotel. Police came there, took a report. We were able to get her into the room. That's who I am naturally.
Yeah.
So for somebody to pull me out of that means that they don't want to see the ugly. And I don't have a problem showing people the ugly. I would prefer not to.
Yeah.
And it's just like Dane was saying, you know, at a particular point in time, that fight or flight mode, that's implanted. It's embedded in us because of the way we grew up.
Yeah.
That don't mean we can't control it. I would much rather take your hand, pull out your chair, and have a nice conversation with you, because that's just what I do.
Yeah.
Fighting is the last thing that I want to do. I haven't had a fight since high school. We're talking 30-some years. So I'm not a violent person.
No, you're
but I
not a
understand
violent
what
person.
it means to be violent. I know what it means to show them fangs and let people know, hey, look, you can run into something that you may not want to run into.
But
And
I
that's
have a
all I think.
question. In
Yes.
all seriousness, like me making that comment, you know.
Oh, dang.
How timely.
What's up, Sir Tice?
Hey, man, what up, man?
What's up,
What's up,
Dave?
big dog?
What's up? What's up, Herb? Brother
What's up?
Dave. Brother Dane,
What,
first
man?
time we talking to each other, you know?
Yes,
What's
sir.
good? Yeah, man, fellas, part of my crude setup. I'm here in Michigan at my
You
parents'
good, man?
house. I'm at my
Good.
parents' house. You know, I'm dealing with a tragedy. So, you know,
Oh, okay.
yeah, been stuck here for the last couple of months. What was old girl? Dave, you got this comment on here. Why do women say this nonsense? I think that was the young lady just on. I mean, we all four of us, I was gonna say all three of us, but you get all four of us have seen women who, whenever they say what they won't do, you can always assume that they've done it and it will be the right person that they will do it for, you know.
Yeah.
In fact, more dudes who've had no cars, no crib, those dudes will have sometimes more females than me.
Yeah.
You
Oh, yeah.
know? And I don't say that like I don't any, you know, you know what I'm saying. So it's like that's cap. But let's see if she defends herself when she comes back up. What's good? You know, I'm gonna address that to her. They love saying this. They love saying this nonsense. But y'all know again, it's plenty of dudes who y'all like. What are they interested in him about? You know, not that you hating. And this dude will have nothing, but we'll have a roster. Or yeah, I'm using what's the name's car right now, you know, and we'll say it with no shame, you know. Anyways, what were you talking about with the relationships? I was reading. Pardon me for getting here late. I did want to join y'all. What was the general consensus?
Well, we were talking about the things that the problems that black men have that prevent us from getting in relationships. And the last thing we were talking about is communication. And
that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
But you know the funny thing? Go ahead, Tyson.
No, I think Dane has heard me say this more than you two about these things, but I could go on all day about this. Here, number one, black people. Okay. Say their premise again about the black man. I want to make sure I got it right. The problem that many black men have. Say it one more time, Herb.
We tend to carry around that inbred hostility among ourselves, and we project it towards each other when it's not necessary because we think we have to prove our manhood.
No, fair enough, but I mean the overall premise you said about dating. What was the because I was going to say I'm going to suggest something that people don't consider that tends to be more problematic. There she is. How are you this evening?
Hi, I'm sorry, I got kicked out for a minute. So what? Can y'all go back? What was y'all saying?
No, well, I was.
We just actually picked. We wanted to hear what you were going to ask about the comment you made about oral sex.
Okay, so what about it? Like, did it trigger you? Because, like I said, I was playing. I say like crazy stuff to Mr. David. That's like my guidance counselor since I've was in school. So I say crazy stuff. So, like, what about it? Did it trigger you?
Let me tell this story so you understand fully, not from just my perspective, but from a black man's perspective. I was doing security at a job one day. Group of females that were in their late 30s, early 40s. We were chit-chatting. And they see when I'm employed. So I passed that metric. They see I'm articulate enough. So I passed that metric. But they find out I'm not married and I don't have any kids. Now, because I'm doing security, I scan the crowd and I see a female off to my right. She got that look on her face. I said, go ahead and ask the question. She said, what do you mean? I said, go ahead and ask the question that you want to ask. She said, how do you know? I said, go ahead and ask the question. She said, well, are you? Now, Latasha, what do you think she meant?
She asked, are you married or are you?
No, she asked me if I was. She asked me if I was when I'm articulate, employed, no kids, no wife. I told her, go ahead and ask the question. What question do you think she wanted to ask me?
Why are you single?
Nope.
No.
I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not good at context clues. It is not due to a lack of.
She wanted to know. No, that's fine. That's fine. That's cool. She wanted to know if I was gay.
Why?
Because I didn't fit the script for a man that should have kids. I'm reasonably attractive. I got a job. I'm not out here banging. She figured some woman could have baby trapped me. Some women should have got me. If I ain't gay, I'm out there slinging dick. That's the consistency that a lot of sisters are walking around with. So when I see that, it comes across as a backhanded compliment that hidden in there says, well, are you getting any pussy?
What does the young lady think about that? Because I got a theory, a real theory that you don't hear popularized.
I mean, first of all, if I approach a man, or if I see a man and he's not married, not gay, I mean, not married, doesn't have children, that doesn't mean that he's gay. It could be that he's looking when he hasn't found the right one.
But you are aware. You are. Oh, my bad, Herb. You are aware that there are women that do think like that, correct?
But you know, it's men who are married who have children who are gay.
No, let's be clear. We're not knocking gay.
I know that. But the point that I'm making is you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't think because.
Yeah, respectfully, you know good and well that's exact. You know, while we say this, many women are very good for saying, he looked this, or he's probably married, or he's this, or whatever. You know, you come on, let's keep it 100. Cool, right? I'm not saying you, Latasha.
I mean, I'm sorry, repeat the question because my signal.
Well, it wasn't
it was more so an acknowledgement. Like, do you acknowledge that there are women in the world who look at men as Herb described and think that he's gay? Like, do you stand on that?
Because of what he doesn't have. Or
yeah.
I mean, it's women like that, but I mean, it's men who judge women like that too. I mean, humans are just judgmental creatures.
Let's not. Okay, and we agree. Hold on. Okay, so I'm in my 50s, right? Mm-hmm. I clearly don't look it, whatever, right? So I'm gonna say this. I think based off of different economic classes is how people think like this. You know what I'm saying? All right, now many people want to act like, or on social media, on social media, everyone's bourgeois. Okay, everyone makes 150 and more and all of that, right? You know, but in reality, and I was doing this experiment because when you left, I live in Florida, but I've been stuck in Michigan for the last couple of months now, and when I go out here, particularly in Detroit, I encounter these little stereotypes or whatever more. And obviously we know that Detroit is less on the economic stratum, if you will, you know. It's like, you're this, you didn't, why you, or God forbid you don't have any kids. You know, it couldn't be that you had a fiance that died or anything like that. It's the assumption or the leap is you must be gay because here, I'll say it. You ain't like typical N words. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Any thoughts on that?
When I see a man who doesn't have kids, I say, oh, he has self-control. He values himself. Because a lot of times I know dudes who have 10 kids and don't see them, like Nick Cannon. So the men who don't have kids, I applaud y'all.
Yeah, I don't think that this is an environment to raise kids. I don't think and this is why some of them are stupid, quite frankly. You know, it's sort of like how people who call out passport bros, for example, want to conclude that, oh, it's because you couldn't get any women, which is like so plantation minded, as I call it, you know. Any thoughts on that?
Hold on, I'm sorry. My signal is very, very bad around here. So could you repeat it?
How about this? We'll move along or whatever.
No. I'm not even trying to be funny. My signal is terrible around.
No,
here.
I'm just saying that people, based off of and this is where people really date. This is what I was gonna say when you first dropped was people generally date at their socioeconomic level. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's very hard for people. I mean, they will different levels will sexually mess around, but very rarely will seriously date each other. And it's mainly because most people want to deal with things that are familiar to them. Dame, you probably know the expression for this. Like when it's something that's familiar to you, even if it's a dude that whoops ass or whatever and all of that, I'm not saying, I'm just picking the worst of the word provocative. Okay. No, you know, hey, that's familiar to them, you know, versus you dealing with a person. And this isn't to say that someone who's in a higher economic stratum is better than someone in a lower economic strata. You may have people in a higher economic strata that have no values, no morals, or whatever. It's just that they're a part of that family, right? And you may have someone in a lower strata who has very good values or whatever. And you see what I'm saying? It's not just straight economics. It's like what your values are. Like me, I think most, for lack of a better term, I hate this term, but I'm going to use it myself. Many modern women are too influenced by mass media, and that's very much a turn off,
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Oh, okay. You're different, right?
I'm not gonna say I'm different, but it's like, how can I describe it? People today let social media influence their lives, and it's like
Absolutely.
we all live different lives for a different reason,
Absolutely. Do you think though that listen, and let's be clear, you had said something just before I joined. You had said something about attraction and everyone likes looks and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think men more than women. Women, like for example, you can get a guy who's in good shape, but on the look scale, I don't know, whatever y'all consider a 3 or 5, you take that guy who's in better shape than a guy who looks like in fact, I don't even think most women like fashion models, to be quite frankly honest with you. They like men who look like men, which is why I think it's corny for dudes to be getting cosmetic surgery and things like that.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I do. Like, I don't like,
That's
no
wild.
disrespect. I don't want a man that's still in the mirror. Like, I don't want a man that's more feminine than me. That's just me.
Don't go to Atlanta then. You like, I live there.
I don't know.
I'm joking. No, you got dudes who we had this on the counselor's corner in your group, Dave. Where you get dudes who get hair weaves or dreadlock weaves.
Yeah.
That's whack. Yeah.
And us four will be like, this is whack. And then you'll be like, why can't he do what he do to make him look better? I'm like, because he's a fucking man.
Facts.
It's like just like
No
to argue
costume
anything,
zone, baby.
whatever. Just argue anything. Like for real, you defending this? Like you can't be 54, 55 and you got a jet black beard, a full beard.
My God, dude.
It's just not possible.
Well, hold on. Well, I do only have one gray strand, but yeah.
But you ain't let it grow out like that. You don't got a full.
No, I've had the full or whatever. But the point I'm making, you are exactly. It's like, dude. Like I saw a recent thing with Floyd Mayweather where his hairline is now down to here, and it's like, dude, we know you got the money, you got the beard plugs and all of this. A 55-year-old man's hairline is not supposed to be down here.
Yeah,
and he's jet black. You look stupid.
You look like it's October the 31st.
Yeah, the funny thing about that is I started to see mine recede when I was like 47, 48. And I said, I'm not gonna fight it. It is what it is.
Many women like the salt and pepper look.
Yeah.
Latasha, would you agree?
I
mean, if you don't
matter.
Yeah, okay. I just think that men chase. Listen, obviously, as a man, keep your fingernails clean. Look like you actually bathe, all of that stuff. But we have a strong movement. I mean, you literally got dudes painting on abs right now, or not painting on. I'm like, go to the gym, drink some water. What?
Too much work.
Everybody wants a shortcut. They want the immediate gratification of getting it now and experiencing it now, to the point where, to your point, sir, like everybody's just taking the easy way out. But it's like, y'all look like fools, man. Like y'all look like a hot mess. And it's like, do they not realize we have eyes of our own?
Right. Yeah. So do you think, Latasha, that I'm only singling you out because you're the only lady on the file. You have.
Do you ran the rest of them off?
Do you think that women in this? Listen, I don't have a problem with women and vanity. That's things with women since the beginning of time. I get that, but it's literally getting, and it's something that you said that triggered me here, in that I never realized how important this social media was until I went out yesterday, and in a public place where there's alcohol, people all around. Well, there was no games on anymore, and everybody's doing this, or the females doing this, and I'm like, okay. Most of you guys are a herd of buffaloes, and I don't, you're not my type per se anyway, but damn, what's the point of going out if you're going to be so trapped into these devices? And I'm segueing into these, you got women with these BBLs, and it's like, how about just working on your gut first?
Oh my God.
Listen, I'm gonna be very frank about things because it's too many bleep words that tell women what they want to hear. You know what I'm saying? So I have to be frank. I mean, I sincerely think in the next 5 or 10 years, we're gonna be seeing a lot of fix a flat or that ass hardening, pardon my language.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But do you think, Latasha, that's a sign of many of the women thinking it's not enough? I mean, especially black women. It's like, goddamn, in the 70s and 80s, y'all were, like how people are over Latinas right now, y'all were the shit. And you were. Overall. You name, I mean, I just don't get it. It's like you what you have naturally, and I'm not saying you, Latasha. These women are, and I'm gonna land the plane here, and I'm gonna let you talk uninterrupted. What I've heard is that the women are doing that because the men that they like that.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, what really brought BBLs out? 2015, when Nicki Minaj, Mulatto, all of that stuff, they brought the BBL thing out. That was like the BBL train. And even Nicki said, yeah, if a bitch can't afford a BBL, she broke. So on social media, everybody is trying to convince. No, she said that.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that.
So listen, so on social
Power
media,
persuasion.
everybody's trying to convince everybody that they're not broke. Now, for the record, I mean, I work a 9 to 5. I pay my bills. I don't pay my bills before I get my nails done. That's just what it is. Y'all can roast me. I don't care because I got a roof over my head. But everybody wants to convince everybody they're not broke. Everybody wants to convince everybody they're getting flued out. Everybody wants to convince everybody they're getting a Louis bag. So that's just what it is.
Flued out to be a whore. Hold on. I got something to say. This is I don't have a drinking problem, I promise. I was at this bar.
Even if you did, it doesn't matter.
I was at this bar and I was talking and she had a decent rack, but she was a little chubby for me. But I can always converse with anybody, right? And she's the bartender there, and she's like, yeah, that bleep word or whatever was talking to me like, yeah, I got money or whatever. I guess it was somebody that left that was kind of, flossing and all that other stuff, whatever. And she's like, I had to tell him, Blicka, I've dealt with whatever. And she said, that dude didn't know. Hold on. She's like, that dude didn't know. I've been with plenty of drug dealers and all this. and I bust out laughing. And she said, what you laughing at? I said, because you're talking to me like that shit sounds impressive to me. I've been, it's like I've been the finest of hoes, or I've been one of the best of hoes of pretty Tonys or whatever. And I know that's not the first time any of these brothers encountered or that they've heard a woman say, I've been with many ball players, or I've been with many. It's like, sweetheart, that's not a flex.
Not a flex, bro.
I'm gonna tell y'all something. Now, my brother, Herb Lewis, he says that I'm not really intelligent. So
you stuck on that one. You ain't gonna let that go, huh?
No, I think it's funny. But I'm gonna tell you something. People who really have money, they invested into property, real estate, land. They invested in UILs, not BBLs. People who really have money, they don't flex it, they invest it. You know what I mean? Like, you always will hear a pocket full of pennies, but you'll never hear a pocket full of $100 bills.
Most people, the average person in public couldn't tell you what things like velocity banking or about money. They can tell you about things that you could, right. So you're right. But you got to let
that's the first time I've ever heard the term.
What?
Velocity banking. And I consider myself to be reasonably financially savvy.
Look it up. Look it up. There's some controversy about it, but it works. It's a way about
you have a loan that has interest, and you're paying off the loan quicker than you got a house 30 years, you pay off the
Right.
house in 7 years
Yeah.
without
Oh yeah.
extra expenditure from you. Now, it is slightly controversial in that you do have to have a working sum of money to deal with this. Now,
Sure.
I would love if we had money conversations like this, but we know really it's just about the flexing and all of this. And basically, you're just a credit card baller, which,
Oh.
I don't respect at all. I mean, and another thing, when people take these trips, as somebody who travels a lot, it's like they're taking pictures to flex to an audience of motherfuckers who hate them.
That they hate as well.
Right. Not,
Yeah.
I,
That's what it's all about.
I was, and it's like, why don't you go there and experience the people and meet different people with different perspectives of life that you don't even consider,
Yeah.
They got to give a play-by-play so people can say, I'm here. This is what I'm doing. I'm here and all that. But what you don't know is how it set them back when they get back.
Exactly.
Right.
Like I know.
What do you guys? I got a
bag
question
with
for the
eviction
panel.
Notices.
Where do you guys think this desire to look rich comes from, as opposed
It
to
comes from slavery.
slavery?
Hold on a second. You know me, I'm the I would love to hear this. Why do you think it's slavery? And I'm not being
so back when
combative,
our
but I
people
love-
were now, not that I'm trying to blame every problem on slavery, but in
Okay.
all seriousness, back when our people were in bondage, we were denied, basic things. We were denied like hygiene rituals. We were denied certain clothes. We were denied looking beautiful.
Okay.
So now
recognition.
it's like now that we're kind of out of bondage, now it's like, oh, we want to flex on the next. But
Okay.
really, you're still in bondage because you have a $1,200 Louis bag, but you got to sit up here and ask your mother for your rent money.
Okay, just to give you some background, I used to be a minor in history or whatever, Black history, and I respect everything that you said. I think you're one of the few, it seems, insightful people, but maybe you're just doing this because you're on camera or whatever. I'm just or in front of the audience. No, but in all seriousness, you do make a point in that how people who have been under so-called bondage may act, but you have to remember, right after slavery, there was the Reconstruction. And first of all blacks weren't slaves, but number two, the Reconstruction, there was a lot of black prosperity. Then we get into the many hundreds of black Wall Streets, if you want to call them, where there was black opulence around. But your point, so maybe it's not slavery. We'll just say people who've never had nothing. Let's just simplify it like that, right? But I think it's bigger than, and I think your point is somewhat valid. But considering that white people flex, no white people, and I don't think white people are the standard of judgment. Let me be very clear on that. I'm just using them as an example because I know them very well or whatever, right? They don't, the stereotypical white person, let me say, doesn't flex in a sense of flashy, shiny object. Well, let me take that back. Flashy, wearable, shiny objects. They flex with jet skis, boats, fishing
motorcycles,
rods, hundreds of guns in their gun collection. Okay, so what is this often? Now, you have many people who have these hobbies who don't show them. Like most people don't know that I'm a shooter and I have a collection of, well, they were in a boating accident. I used to have them or whatever, right? Read between lines, my bang bangs. But no, my point is that many people, I think, do it to fill a void because there is a temporary feel good when you get this. Now, the Birkin bag thing and all that, or even the Louis bag, you would think with this whole exposure of that from these tariffs that the same factories that's making the knockoffs are making the real ones, and you're the real sucker that these things aren't a flex anymore.
Right.
You're just more of a freaking idiot. And I like Movado watches, right? I'll admit, I like Movado watches. I get my Movado watches from pawn shops. I learned that from a guy who goes to the casino a lot. I get them from pawn shops and I get them at the Movado factory store. I don't pay retail for anything, and you can still find nice stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not flexing it, you know, because I want them to see, you know, I like nice things and getting them at a discount, if you will. But it's for me. Whereas other people, you know, like, I think it's unfortunate that many 20 and 30-year-olds live on Instagram trying to please people with it. So go ahead, you know, but I just want to say, I think it just comes more from I want people to seem like I'm the shit because, or I watch celebrity A and they carry around these when all the celebrity is the commercial for your dumb ass to buy this shit.
Exactly.
Something else to that, sometimes we as a demographic, and to make a longer story a short story, we have $1.4 trillion of purchasing power. There is absolutely no way that we need to speak to anybody about anything that we need as a culture of people.
Facts.
1% of that we can finance everything ourselves. In addition to what you were saying about people wearing their wealth and things of that nature, same thing with Latasha, as we don't understand how to actually accumulate wealth and have it in plain sight. So where the average person comes into the home, they have absolutely no idea what they're looking at. We don't understand about wine collection, fine art.
There you go.
Yep.
You go. Hold on. I was watching. Y'all watched the hoop game on last Friday with the Knicks and who the Knicks beat? Boston. No, Boston.
Yeah, that'd be Boston, right?
Okay. So Busta Rhymes, who's older than me, that you know how they show the celebrities. This 54-year-old dude got on this chunky. I mean, it's probably fake, I know, but this extra chunky, overly gaudy. I mean, take your 80s and 90s rappers, Jules. It was just filled with diamonds or whatever, you know, and he's cheering on the sideline.
Yeah.
And I'm like, number one, is this the setting for that? Number two, dude, you've been in entertainment for 30 years. You don't need to flex and shine like that. Number three, most older guys who mess with you, they're not going to spend that. And these young kids don't even really, I mean, they know who you are, but you're like, I don't know, Lawrence Welk was to us.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like, why is he wearing that dumb shit? You know, but I don't know. It was just.
Buster, he like LL Cool J. You know, they still stuck in the 90s, like you said.
You said, damn, why you gotta talk about my boy LL stuck in the
No, I like LL Cool J.
I've never seen LL dripped out like that though. But
in the 90s he
now.
was, yeah. But he was young in the 90s. But I don't see him now. Buster, I think Buster has done steroids and all that other stuff, but that's another subject, another time, you know.
But you know, I'm gonna tell y'all what the real flex is.
What's
the
that?
Real flex is being able to afford a $1,000 emergency. The real flex is being able to pay your rent on your mortgage 6 months in advance and have 6 months worth of savings. The real flex is not living from paycheck to paycheck and getting the IUL.
I'm gonna say this: you're exactly right about having an emergency fund. I'll even say, you know, the average person should have 3 to 5 saved on, you know, and guess what? You can do that even if you don't have any money. When you think about this, think about this. Yeah, you be talking a lot of money about a lot, Dane, so you get it. I look at how much people spend on DoorDash, and it blows my effing mind.
That's not residual income right there, DoorDash.
I mean, do you know how cheap it is to cook?
Yep.
And not that it's about me, and you know what's going in your food. You and you'll have. I mean, I'm like, you spent. I was at a friend's house. I'm like, it's just you. You spent $35 for DoorDash for a meal from Chili's. Like,
one meal
from Chili's.
Killing the game, killing it.
And the DoorDash fee was like $5 or $7. He was like, yeah, man. This is why, even though I'm for credit cards, I hate credit cards on one hand. I use them. Don't get me wrong. When you see cash leaving your hand, you kind of know what's happening. And because when you don't see it, you just click and pay. And then people want. So that I'll play Mr. Math guy, and I'm not listen, I'm not Mr. Frugal by any stretch because I've made these mistakes. But a $35 meal that he could have made easily. Oh, I know what it was. It was some kind of pasta Alfredo. All Alfredo is heavy whipping cream, seasoning, and what's the name? Parmesan cheese, and some damn noodles. And you know,
a $10 or less meal.
Right. So you could have did that in $10 and it took you all of 15, 20 minutes.
That's
And
it.
that $20 you could have saved to something, you know. So you are correct in that a flex. But what I would love to see is if they made marketing things for that. But guess what? You think that the Chili's, Applebee's, whatever these restaurants want to pay these mega million advertisements for these TV shows, you know, and you trying to tell people how to save money when they want you to spend more? Hell no.
Mm-hmm.
But you know,
that's
that's
why the-
that's
Therein
the
lies
funny
the
thing
rub.
about that. I see all these people, especially on TikTok, they're doing this stuff themselves and they're selling their brand, and they don't even have the wherewithal to say, hey, look, we give you 10 grand for the rights to this. We give you 5,000. They're gonna say absolutely. Like all these people we see doing these skits. Some of these skits are better than what we see on TV. And they still won't have these people do, they won't elongate these skits. They won't have these people come to Hollywood and do a pilot, which is essentially they're actually advertising on TikTok a pilot where Hollywood execs don't have to leave their place to see them.
You
And
make
half
it
these
such a
people
great
who had-
point. No, well, I want to ask Brother Dane this, and I'm gonna tie. I promise you, I think I can weed this because Dane knows a lot about marketing. So, are you a sports fan, Latasha?
Not really.
Okay. Do you know that on all athletic jerseys that there's in the major sports there's a Nike logo on them, or did you know, or did you care, or what?
I never thought about it, but I can believe it.
Okay, so to the question to Brother Dane, because he's the marketing guy. Okay, so let's say, Latasha, the reason that I'm asking Dane if this is true, and I'm going to tie it into fashion brands. So Nike pays, we'll just say we'll say MLB, baseball. They pay Major League Baseball $1 billion to get Nike on this part of the shoulder and then right above the butt of the players, right? And I'm like, how the F are they getting a return of investment on paying that yearly? But I'm like, it's got to be some consultant smarter than me because that seems like a waste of money. But let's use the Super Bowl, for example. I said baseball, we'll use football. The Super Bowl, biggest event of the year. Nike pays them $1 billion a year. I'm sorry, we'll just say $1 billion, whatever. We'll say 100 million a year. We'll say 100 million a year for every single game that those guys on. Everybody sees this freaking Nike logo, even whereas commercials cost $7 million per company. I guess my question to Dane is they're paying for these what's called impressions because it's going to stain in people's mind, and it's an overall cheaper it's an overall cheaper investment to do that where they don't even have to pay for commercials. Technically, is that the reason?
Of course, it all goes back to persuasion and stories. So Nike is ultimately selling the story of triumph, and what better way of selling that story is? I mean, what better way of selling that story by, to your point, paying this league $1 million, $100 million a year just to have their logo on these jerseys, so that when the people are watching and they're seeing Jalen Hurts, get the tush push for the Super Bowl win and such a triumphant factor, that's a story they want people telling themselves and they want to associate it with their brand. So yes, they're going to pay that money so that they can associate their brand with this story of triumph, so that when people are out in the world and they're thinking about, man, like again, going back to flexing, like I want to feel like I'm a winner. I want to feel like I'm triumphant. Then let me go put on these Nike jerseys or these Nike shoes, et cetera, et cetera.
So segue to what she mentioned earlier. Is it true the same thing while they'll put these Birkin bags and LV bags on these rappers, or
they're selling aspirational living. To your point, it's 100% correct. So it's cheaper for them to just put these luxury items in the music videos or to make these videos, because again, they know that the attention is on these individuals. So why not let them be the spokesman, since they already know that the consumer knows, likes, and trusts them, especially on the backs of, I just saw a stat that said what was about 75% of luxury spending is supported by the middle and lower class, not even the ultra wealthy anymore. But again, that only happens through marketing.
Right.
And specifically, if you got every song is talking about how you, a man, you whack for not being able to buy a chick a Birkin bag. And then as she said, you got the women on the women's side saying that you broke if you can't afford a BBL. So whether it's luxury goods, plastic surgery, or whatever else they want to sell, they're going to sell it through the storytelling. And people have to be conscious of that and realize that you're just being shoved this game down your throat on a day-to-day basis without you even being conscious of it, to the point where you think that your decision to get the Birkin bag, to buy the pair of Nikes, or to get the BBL is actually your decision, when it's actually a seed that was planted in your mind, unconscious, unbeknownst to you.
You got a hit song talking about it.
Herb, I've been talking about when I was taking my leadership thing about storytelling.
Yep, storytelling.
The art of storytelling, the images, whatever, and that's what has been learned people's minds. So they make sure they get the right people to tell a story. Everything is about storytelling now.
Yep. Everything.
The best rappers who could tell stories, the best speakers could tell stories, whatever. Everything is about storytelling.
That's fair enough.
Advertisement.
I've looked into things about hacking your brain, and it does go into that. No, thanks for the explanation. It's something you said, Latasha, earlier, because I got to bail real quick. But what's this thing about a man with a car is a no for me? So you're saying you see someone that you find extremely not attractive, but actually, Dane had said it earlier, not lustful, but there's a word I want to use.
Well, can I say what? Okay, so I'm gonna tell y'all why a man with a car is a no for me. Y'all remember that movie Baby Boy with Jodie?
Yeah, storytelling.
Okay, that movie traumatized me because I don't want a man. I'm not saying this is for every man. Like, this isn't for Jodie Lewis, But it just traumatized. Like, if a man don't have a car, he gonna think he can use my car. And the answer is a double hell no. So that's why.
That was a story.
But the difference is, I know, right? The difference is, this is a man who actually is sultry to you. Now, I'm not. You may dive into the pool. I've been saying you're gonna swim in it. Am I right? In other words, you meet that. I'm assuming you like black men. You like that chocolate stud. It's a little temporary right now.
I'm allergic to chocolate. I'm allergic to chocolate.
Okay.
Are you allergic? Hold on. Are you allergic to milk chocolate or Baker's chocolate? There's a difference.
Baker's chocolate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you with that imitation stuff, I dig it.
I think that I was saying everything I say, I can say with you in front of me. I think what a lot of women say is cap, because women tend to be, and when I say, let me say some women or many women, not all, not saying you. I think a lot of what the women say is cap is because, number one, they don't want, women tend to be more hive-minded. So they don't want to, I know many women who are on the political side that I'm on, but they know that if they publicly say it, they'll be completely shamed.
So you like white women? Are you the one that prefers white women?
No. Okay. I'm glad you bring that up. What makes you go to that conclusion? That
no. Me and David, he and I are like real good friends. So we were just talking, and I said that I like white men, and he said that he knows a guy who only likes white women. Okay. And that's how the discussion came about. So I was asking if that was you.
No. I'm a Rainbow Coalition kind of guy.
Okay, so you like white women.
I don't like white women. I love women.
Right.
White women love me.
I'm a Rainbow Coalition kind of guy personally.
Yeah, I dated the spectrum. I dated Asian, Black, Caucasian, Native American. I like women.
Yeah, I've never dated a white woman, but that said, what I'm saying, I think I think when people have an archetype, let me not say an archetype, when they specifically focus on an ethnic archetype, I think that that's been influenced into them. And it's not, they may, because all people aren't the same. You're not going to have, all white people aren't these aspirational minded people. In fact, there's more trailer park white people than are these aspirational. You're going to have more Jimmy Bobs with a missing tooth than Brad who works for hedge fund, but because people watch a lot of movies and they get these stereotypes, like one thing I hate is because, and I don't say this as no flex by any stretch, but I have a lot of white peers, and friends or whatever. So I've been in that world a lot. And you'll have the black women, no disrespect to you, who will literally change their whole steez around them. And then me, and then they'll kind of laugh because they know I can peep their game. Like, sweetheart, stop this. Especially the ones, because I'm like one of those guys who like to go to the neighborhood spot, and I like to go to my tiki bar, more white people there or whatever, right? So I've been seeing this thing. I'm like one of those. Oh God, I hate hearing my own voice so loud. One of you had this, but I guess the question it was a question about, this whole car thing. I've seen what I was saying to you, Latasha, and you can speak and take whatever you want. Mm-hmm. I've seen too many women who have said that and projected that or whatever, what their requirements. And then I've seen the guys of all races who meets none of their things on their criteria. I won't date a man who's got kids. They'll be dating a dude who's got 3 baby mamas or whatever, and I don't want to always reduce it to sex and lust, but those things do override a lot of the common sense that they say. Any thoughts on that?
Hold on, because like I told y'all, my signal is bad, so I was.
Oh my God! One of you guys sum it up.
he's just trying to figure out.
Bad signal here, so I hear like every other word.
He's just trying to figure out where do you fit in terms of going back on what you say about not dealing with a man with certain things that you say he has to have.
You said. Oh, you said what? Hold on. I'm sorry, my signal is so horrible.
No. Okay. So you're saying under no circumstances would you date a man that does not have a car?
That's because Jody traumatized me when he drove Yvette's car, so that's why.
Didn't we say it's the media?
Yeah.
Storytelling. It's the storytelling, gentlemen. Like, and this is actually a great example of it right here.
I am out front in this. And letting women know that I do not have a car. I say that verbatim out front, so there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Mm-hmm. Now, with that being said, I will tell a woman, hey, look, it's not a matter of me getting to see you. So if we plan a date and let's say we going to Buffalo, you're in Buffalo, I got to get to Buffalo. I say, hey, fine, I'll rent a car. No problem. I have the means. But what goes along with that is this. We're going 50-50 on the date, or we don't date.
Let me say something to what you said real quick. The real flex, bruh. Now, if you live in LA like Dane does, you're effed without a car. You just can't. But the real flex is, and it's very hard, but car payments take up way too many people are driving much more than what they can really afford. Mm-hmm. And if people really drove what they could afford, they would actually have more money to actually enjoy life. Bless you. And and I think that, but everybody, even me to an extent, at this, but I'm at a stage in my life I should be able to get what I want, Mm-hmm. But the point I'm getting at is that I think we put too much importance. And again, like I said, some cities it's just next to impossible. Right. I guess this isn't a question, and hopefully you hear every word I'm saying, Latasha. But to me, it would be more of a flex if a person had I don't know, we won't say a beater or a hoopty, we'll say a $3,000 to $7,000 car that's paid off, and they're keeping their money and they have money to go out with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
that to me is a bigger. I used to know when people. I used to know when I used to live in Minnesota at one time, and this was at the time when when all you needed was a post to get a house. Right. This is like right before right before the housing crash. And people would be in the, they would come to the spot. It's like, hey man, can you give me a 20? And I'm like, yeah, sure. What do you need a 20 for or whatever? No, had to pay the house off. These people be house poured in a mug, or you go to their house, it's been 6 months and there's still just a chair there. And it's like, why are you, man? Because it's an investment, and no, dude, you're suffering.
Yeah.
I mean, so you made a good point earlier when you said that you shop and you don't spend retail. Like, that really resonated with me, because I do the same thing, and I think a lot of people don't understand that, especially when it comes to men. Like we like you said, we are very much cost benefit analyzers. So it's not necessarily that we don't like spending money or that we don't like doing nice things, but we just want the best deal possible. And if that means that we gotta, like you said, go to the factory store, go to the pawn shop to get it, then yeah, we're gonna do that, because to your point, we'd rather have the money in our hand than be quote unquote living in this big ass house, but we got one chair in 6 months, because we house poor, but we house rich, but we cash poor, or car rich, cash poor, or clothes rich, cash poor. And that's all because we insist on paying retail. Because I've heard women say that, like, oh, I can't be with a man, like you said, who don't pay retail. And I'm just like, well, there's a lot of dudes you're not gonna be with, because a lot of men I'm not trying to pay retail for nothing. Not that I ain't trying to buy the nice stuff. I just don't want to pay retail for it. I want to pay full price.
Man, you see what this stuff costs to make? Hell to the no.
Fuck no, we ain't paying retail.
Look, I know a girl who brought some Gucci slippers and they came apart in the rain.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're definitely not made to function,
And one of those things when we talk about is low self-esteem, that has a lot to do with it too.
That definitely.
yeah.
Like,
People
you
trying to
spent
buy
$500. You spent $500 on some Gucci slides, and then they came apart in the rain.
Hold on a second. Why the hell would you wear something like that in the rain? First of all, or it probably just rained with it, but still, that's. And guess what? I've had Gucci shoes before. Yes, guilty. I paid $90 for them. Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't. I was in those stages, but I like fashion, but I don't think that you have to be complete. It's kind of like when you see people with excessive labels and things, they're trying to show off.
Yeah.
So.
Like someone has said, it's similar to sports. The bigger the ball, the more of a lower class sports it is. I know, crazy, right? And the bigger the label, the more of insecure someone is. Yeah. And I was like,
that's a hell of a statement.
Damn.
That's a hell of a statement.
Yeah,
it's a hell of a statement.
To David's point about the self-esteem issue, I've heard people say things like, I might be broke, but at least when I leave the house in the morning, I'm able to pull out in my Cadillac Escalade. I feel good about myself. I feel better.
Oil change on your Escalade.
So it's right. I'm realizing that a lot of the people who like conspicuous spending, it's really, to Dave's point, it's a self-esteem issue as well, because they're just doing these things to feel good. It's a status symbol. They know that life is hard. They know that times are tough. And so the only way they can cope with these things is by spending money that they don't have on things that they can't afford, to flex on people that they claim that they don't give a fuck about. So it's kind of like a full circle marketing cycle that they go through that they don't even realize they're going through, because again, it's not really their original thought to go do these things. These are just things that's been put into that have been implanted into their mind through the media, through the storytelling. Like Latasha says, she's still traumatized over a movie, but it's just like that was just a story. Like that's not real.
Don't worry, y'all. We gonna go out and she gonna come pick me up. She just don't know it yet.
First of all, you didn't want me because first of all, I'm 32, and second of all, you said I have intellectual deficiency, so you didn't want me.
That's how we flirt, Latasha. You know what I'm saying? We gonna call you, gonna say you got intellectual deficiencies and everything.
Just because I wouldn't bed you don't mean I wouldn't pick your brain for ideals. See, I'm a
Huh?
versatile. Just because I wouldn't bed you, don't mean I wouldn't pick your brain for ideas. See, I'm a versatile Negro. You can keep your clothes on and we can party all night long.
I'm
We
not
can
I'm
talk
not
about
talking.
Picasso.
Yeah, I'm not talking.
See, I'm one of them type of Negroes.
See, look, so I don't know if you missed it, but this is like, well, Dave is like my brother, and I initiated him as my brother too. So,
yeah, oh yeah.
So he said that he doesn't eat pork and what else don't you eat?
I don't eat red meat.
Yeah, and I said, well, you eat pussy, and he got offended.
I didn't get offended. I saw it for what it was. I saw it as a naked attack on my sex. We defend naked attacks on the sex.
I'm just saying, like, I'm gonna be real with y'all. I'm red meat.
Well, hey, that's okay. I prepared meals in my domicile for a woman that was a vegetarian.
No, but I'm talking about like my insides are red. So if a man say I'll eat red meat, it's like, yeah, nigga, you eat pussy. In my mind, you eat red meat.
Well, hey, you know what the funny thing about that statement is?
What?
When you have dental tools and you can play certain records with certain needles, you don't need to eat red meat.
Yeah. True.
Jeez.
Now I would go. Watch the double entendres. Now I would go a little deeper and say why the people who played on real record need to eat meat.
Yeah.
But I ain't necessarily that cat. See, I can do both.
But let me tell you, brother, he read me from Genesis to Revelations.
I'm just saying I'm that cat. I do a whole lot.
Hey, let me ask you a question. You don't think white guys try to fetish you, do you, or do you not care?
When you say fetish meat, like what do you mean by that? Like they have fantasies, like can you break it down for me?
You guys are more succinct than I am.
Do you think the Caucasian men you deal with are only targeting you because of your ethnicity?
Well, let's use it more specific.
No, I mean,
they see you as well. Here. Let me keep it 100. You ready? Okay. I know dudes who are white dudes who know that many black women are easier for them because they know that inside many of them pedestalize them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about Jim.
I'm not talking about Jim
Bob. I'm not talking about Jim Bob. Anything, you know, and I'm like, y'all. Now, depending on the college campus, it's the same with athletic black men, you know, with white women. Mm-hmm. Or Asian, you know, God forbid they get the BBC fantasy. You might know.
Yeah, that's out there.
Acronyms is, but yeah. I am when dudes. I don't know. This is just me and Dana. I won't say we've clashed over this. I think when I hear people say I like this, like I'm a boob guy, but I'll mess with a flat chest chick if she, you know, is more plump in other areas and she's attractive. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not ruling her out. But you have a lot of people who say, they like lighter complexion or their word, red bones, or they like more thick, which is the word that black people have completely bastardized. Yeah. Damn.
Go ahead, keep going.
I wanted to see where the interrogation gonna go. All I was basically leading to is that, do you believe that because when people make bold statements, I don't care if it is white guys, we just talking or whatever. It's the same thing with dudes. I know dudes who like only white girls who are black men because they have been traumatized by sisters. You know.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
And all black women aren't the same. Many of them, I will say many of them think the same, you know, up in 85, 90%, but they're all not the same. Mm-hmm. Did you hear the last? Yeah. Do you think that your preference is based on culture, or can you hear me?
Yeah, we had went out. I don't know, but like David knows why I like white men. We had a whole conversation on it. No disrespect to my black brothers.
No, it's fine.
There should never be any.
Feel free to share. You think you think brothers are limited minded or what? Or
no, like we were talking about earlier. First of all, I don't hate black men, so I'm just gonna put that out there. I don't hate them, but I just feel like the type of love that I'm willing to give is not really compatible with what most black men want.
Oh, okay, whatever that means, and white guys are.
Yeah, what makes white guys compatible for your love
so
compared to black guys?
I find when I deal with a black man, he likes to see. Well, okay, I'm not gonna say when I deal with a man who happens to be black. I find that they like it when I get out of character. They like it when I go off. They like it when I'm just this berserk person.
You think
I had one dude tell me it's a turn on when you fight me. I'm like, what?
You think
let me jump in here right here. Let me jump in here for one moment. BGS calls this Klingon love, and she's absolutely correct. Because of the way that we've been conditioned, we only think that kind of love
exists.
Yes.
But
so she has a point when she says that. Now, how to extrapolate that out in terms of why because to take her side, if you will, most of the reason why I don't just flat out refuse to date a lot of black women is because they behave like that. I'm a cerebral cat. I don't need to yell at you. I don't need to curse at you to tell you to go have a good day, take a hike, and I don't want to see you anymore. I'm the type of cat that I'll cut you off with silence. I don't have to unsheath the Excalibur. I don't have to yell at you to get you to understand that I will fuck you up in no uncertain terms. So your best bet and your recourse is to leave me alone. And I think that's when she says that, and it could be the area that she's in. I don't know what area she's in. It could be that the area that she's in, the men that she encounters.
She's in Maryland.
Maryland. Yeah, the men that she encounters aren't ready to reciprocate to her in a way that allows her to not behave like the heathens do that we associate traditionally with black culture. And that for most black women is a rarity. When we see a black female that can sit back and just say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to get out of character because that's not me. We're shocked because we're waiting for Mount Vesuvius and we don't get it.
Mount Vesuvius.
you sound like
oh no, my bad. You sound you're gonna say something, Dave.
Oh no, we wait for that category 5 and we don't get it. We're just like, oh wait a minute, she didn't blow up. Nah, man, she's just like okay, and walked away. We're shocked.
I was going to say too that to piggyback on that, Herb, that a lot of times I've noticed that, you know, like she said, they kind of like have this assumption that, you know, all of us like the same thing, or all men like the same thing, or black men, all black men like the same thing. And what I've realized that kind of like messes them up, a lot of women up, because as a black guy, quote unquote, it's just like, yeah, like I'm well aware of our cultural, our dynamics, and you know how in the most probable outcome, you know, in most cases, if you're dealing with a black woman. However, I've never allowed that to, in a sense, stop me from moving forward with him. So it's like I've noticed that a lot of the times the sisters, they'll be like she said, like, oh, I don't like a guy who drives a car, who doesn't have his car, because it reminds me of Jody from the Baby Boy and how he did Yvette in the car. And they'll take that thought and move forward in life, like and apply it to every guy that doesn't have a car.
That's what I mean. My bad.
But it's like, you know, it's like, well, no, you can't operate like that, because again, maybe he doesn't have a car simply because he just doesn't drive. But that doesn't mean that he can't, like as Herb said, that doesn't mean I can't go get a car and make a move if I need to. Personally, I'm just not a car kind of guy. And so I think a lot of relationships, you know, the sisters miss out on a lot of relationships simply because they're not allowing themselves to, quote unquote, understand the guy, where the guy's coming from, because they're placing the emotion of, like I said, I remember in Baby Boy, this happened and I don't want to experience that. So if a guy doesn't have a car, then he's automatically off the table, when it's just like that could be very much the guy that's your quote unquote soulmate.
You would think that that's a very good point. Both of you made good points, and we're not attacking you, Latasha, by any means.
Oh, I had missed this. So can we start over? Because I got kicked out.
You'll pick up.
You gotta watch the replay.
You're right. Yeah. You'll pick up as we say this. I think as it relates to Black people, I'm going to get into propaganda for a second. I recommend everybody read Edward Bernays. The reason that you eat bacon and eggs or whatever for breakfast is not because breakfast is the most important meal. It was marketed to you that way.
Yeah.
And once we understand that we have been marketed to, even in our choices in mates, we will then realize, because I say that, do you control your life or the marketers control your life? Well, right now the marketers control your life, but tying this into, like, let's use the news for example. People say there's never no positive things on the news. Well, because people don't really want to watch positive things. And then they're going to show you the most stereotypical of Black men because that drives eyeballs. Name me, okay, every show, I don't like to watch a lot of TV, but I'm aware of what's out there. Every show now has a rainbow character. They have a studious Black guy who has no sense of how do we say, no sense of machismo whatsoever. It's like fucking every studious guy is Anthony Anderson or some other goofy or whatever. Then it's like a Tyler Perry movie. You know, you're already gonna know that the dark complexion characters are gonna be the heels. You know, the lighter complexion characters are gonna be the nice guys, and then it's always gonna be some man taking over a woman. Maybe not that male movie he did or whatever, but you get my point. And I think with Black people, we close, like, I'll admit, I'm not really into so-called hood chicks, right? Now, I can find a hood chick attractive in a sexual manner, I'll admit to that. But as far as taking them seriously, absolutely not. But I also know that that's not the totality of Black women. Although, unfortunately, more Black women are wanting to become that because they think they have to be that to stand united and strong with, you know, their sisters, which is a bunch of BS anyway. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, why would people want to shrink their pool when it's, you know, when it's this? And I've seen plenty of people who say, I only like this or I only like this. And then they open up things and more things open up to them. You know what I'm saying? So that's, you know, you can feel free to pick up wherever you want from that. I guess you're not going to pick up anything on it.
No, because my thing went in and out, so I'm hearing like every other word. Like I ain't even got kicked out like for 5 minutes.
What we're just basically saying is that you narrow your options. I think people can case in point. Like I know people who are straight up meat and potatoes people, but then I'll give them a gyros, or in the hood they call it gyros, but you know, you give them a gyros and they're like, damn, this tastes good. And then they'll eat it, but they would have never eaten it. And I could have probably used a better example, but I'm just saying it has meat, it has vegetables, it has, God forbid we talk about meat, but you know what I'm saying, you know, it has this. Why would you deny yourself these pleasures? You know? And it's usually a familiar. It was a white guy I was talking to about this. He was like, no, strictly hamburger, American cheese, and this. And I'm like, just try this. And his son's like, Dad, really, this is really good. And he's like, damn. And because, you know, they're Minnesota white boys, they don't know anything about culture or whatever. Anything.
I was getting ready to say that. Yep.
And he's like, no, actually, that isn't that bad. And you know what? It was something called tabbouleh. Which is just nothing but it's like a parsley salad or whatever and all this. And I'm just like, when you just close your mind, especially, it's hard enough to find somebody that you find attractive that finds you attractive, where y'all actually have something in common. But then you close off like, oh, they're this, they're this, they're this. You know, I'm just saying. So, and then go ahead.
What I've noticed, sir, is that to your point, it's like people will have preferences and they're so gung-ho on their preferences that, to your point, that they don't realize that it's shrinking their pool. And I was reading a book, it talked about how, you know, what what we define as our winning strategy in life also becomes our source of limitation, because the very thing that we're thinking is helping us achieve the things that we want in life is also, in your case, shrinking our pull. So to your point, it's just like, yeah, I've always been a fan of, like, as Herb said, I just like women, so I want to keep my options broad and more so focus on the character when it comes to taking a woman seriously. But if we just having fun, then it's just like, just don't be a prude, don't be a psycho stalker, don't be hot, and just be, like serviceable, and you're good. You know what I'm saying? You're good. But when it comes to something serious, I think one of you guys have brought this up earlier as well. Like, that character comes before everything, and I think women don't realize that, a solid character can fill that void at times for, quote unquote, them not feeling like they have the look or appearance of the BBL that they think the man wants from them. Because
do you think women have been programmed into the bad boy thing?
Yeah, it's storytelling, because I think you said it, like, think of I remember growing up, all the girls in I remember 8th grade specifically, all the girls, they liked O-Dog from South Central. Like, that was they wanted them an O-Dog, you know what I'm saying? They wanted them a Kane and an O-Dog, and it was crazy because this is like, looking back, it's just like, damn, they wanted some criminals, you know what I mean? Like, that's.
And to add to that, what's crazy?
Only dumb girls want criminal men. I'm sorry.
No. Well, hold on. Put a what's the name in chat, because it's what they think. Like, for example, I'm from a neighborhood that unfortunately became a bad neighborhood that has been gentrified back into, whatever,
what
right?
It was, yeah.
But I come from a boxing family, so I've always known how to do hands. My grandfather, my father actually met my mother because he used to spar my uncles or whatever, right? So I've never really had a problem with the hands, and I'm not trying to act like I'm Mr. Tough Guy, but I've always wanted to fade. So I'm using this extreme to make a simple point. So from a hood mentality, they will think, oh, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, you kind of soft, even though you're in shape, but you kind of soft. So they will try you.
Yep.
Then they will, then it becomes, oh, damn, he's good with his hands. But it's like, wait a minute. So you picture, I guess what I'm saying is, people think that these little clowns and these rap videos and these videos or movies that, how do I say this? That they're tough, and they're really not tough. Let me
They
land
really not. They just puppets.
Right. Let me say this. I've said this about. I would love to get your thoughts on this, because even though you don't do the black.
I can't hear you.
Oh, damn. Hurt. Gentlemen, what do you think about this crazy statement I'm about to make? It's not really a crazy statement. I said that if Idris Elba wasn't Stringer Bell, but was on the police force, he wouldn't have the same attraction to the women that he did have. But because he was a criminal, he gave off that vibe or whatever, that edgy vibe. Any thoughts on that?
So what was his role first?
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Was he on the wire?
When he was on the wire.
He was on the wire. He was on the wire. I would definitely agree with you on that one, sir, because to your point, like, that's what's been marketed to the sisters. Because think about it, they are growing up in the hood, quote unquote, just like us. So I'm pretty sure from their perspective, like I said, they're seeing guys out there getting beat up or accosted or ran up on. So in their mind, they like, damn, I don't want to be with the guy that's getting, quote unquote, taken advantage of. I want to be with the guy that's, in a sense, taking the wolf in this case,
right?
Not the sheep. So it's like, to your point, it's just like, yeah, like, through the movies, through the media, through the music, they are marketed it to want to be with the quote unquote bad guy, because he's promoted as the protector, and the provider in this case. But the reality is, to your point, is just like, I know a lot of brothers, quote unquote, from the hood that will, to your point, like, because they are articulate, that they get tried, but then when the bad boys try them, it's just like, well, I know you had hands like that, or like, oh man, you can handle yourself, So it's just like, I think a lot of times we get caught up in that, by just going off of the appearance of things.
I'll tell a personal story. When I was younger, 11, 12, and I spent some years of foster care. So from 5th, 6th grade, I wasn't in Niagara Falls. Came back home, and a lot of people didn't know who I was. I'm soft spoken. I tend to stay away from fights. and there was a lot of heads that wanted to try me until they realized, you know what, we not what he thought. He's not what we thought he was. And the moment I laid some cats out there, it's like, okay, you know what, we need to leave him alone. It's that whole Bad to the Bone, the song. If you've ever heard the song, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, go listen to the song. People like to try people who are quiet and kind of standoffish because they want to, they want to know where he stands. So if something happens, they're gonna want to know if he's gonna talk or not. That's the whole, especially in inner city urban America, because if a person walks alone, he or worse, she, they deem the target. And unfortunately, you know, that's a lot of what a lot of black men have to do, especially if you're looking at places like South Central and like Church I said, growing up in Detroit. You can't walk alone. You got to pick a side, and they're gonna compel you to pick a side. And if you don't, they're coming at you sideways until you prove you can stand up.
Now let me
Listen, let me say this. Let me say this. I played that game in middle school, just the past week, doing testing, and that tests my patience when you're giving state testing and you're in a large group and these kids cutting a fool. But I understand, because certain teachers, they'll counselors or whatever, kids will try to try you. But I always say, I always tell them I got soldiers. But like, I'm not gonna handle it. They're not gonna fight anything, but I just throw stuff out there. So when they realize the baddest of the bad kids or the toughest kids is on your side, and they come in, well, I say, I got soldiers there. Who your soldiers? Who your soldiers? And then I tell them, and then these kids pop up, and they're like, "What's up, Mr. Glover? What's up, Glover man?" Or whatever the case is. And I'm like, Oh, homeboy over there was talking crap during testing, and they stepped to him, but it's all playful. But then they realize, like, damn, guess we shouldn't talk shit to him, because he got the baddest of the bad kids supporting him.
Mr. Glover, remember when Parrish used to pick with me and I whipped his ass in your classroom?
In my office.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
This was one of your students?
Yeah.
She was one of my students.
But Mr. Glover, how was my grades in school?
You did your work. You put in work. You came a long way. You put in your work.
Hold on.
But you was the type. And the only thing, and now if you want to bring up stories, one of the things I remember, you come in with that sock full of pennies or quarters that you had a beef and you was gonna go up somebody's head with.
That's some hood shit.
Hey, I ain't mad at her. I ain't mad at her.
So listen. So like, I remember like when I was in school, I used to get picked with. So my mother stopped me from carrying purses. But so I would make weapons. Like I would take like a toothbrush and take the bristles out of the toothbrush, and I would find glass in the street or like something metal and shit. I would make a shank. And I would keep weapons like in my bra area, in my vaginal area.
Oh shit! She straight Shawshank.
Whoa! So I got a question. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say something. No, it's more about the white guys thing. But I'm just kind of blown away by what you just said. No, I was gonna say it's random, but it fits what we were just saying. But you did throw me for a loop there. God damn, y'all some violent motherfuckers. But my question is for you to have the white women, I don't want to say like you, and I'm not antagonistic with you. I hope
That's
you don't
fine.
think.
We can join on each other here. It's all safe.
No, but no. Why is it the eccentric, goofy, gothy white boys get a chance, but the black guys who are those eccentric black kids or whatever and all this, they don't get the chance?
Well, I went to a predominantly black school, so I mean, I never really like came across like a lot of whites.
Oh, so it's more of a, I don't want to say it's a more new thing or whatever.
Yes, this is new.
Oh, okay.
And
Because
Mr. If I could if I could, share why I decided that I like white men or I want to explore other cultures of men. When I deal with a black man, it's always they like it when I'm aggressive. When I try to
you,
love
you
a
you
black
mentioned
man,
that. You mentioned that.
yeah.
Yeah.
When I try to love a black man, it's like when I try to love a black man appropriately, it's like he returns my love with hate. It's not until mother after this, mother after that he's like, oh, okay, yeah, baby, I do love you.
Don't you think that could be a regional thing though, or within within your proximity?
Probably.
Okay. Thank you for being honest. I knew a woman. I knew a female. I won't get into. I'll say this. I knew a female, pretty attractive, when we were, in high school. And as we got older, I noticed she still stayed around the so-called, we'll just say the neighborhood. And I'll be telling, our crew, like we used to have like 5-year, 10-year meetings, or we would all get together whenever who's in town, things like that. And I was like, well, hey, let's go downtown. She would never come. Some of the fellas can hardly pick up on what I'm saying. But if it was ever a neighborhood spot, she's there. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I'm like, she only wants to be at places that are familiar to her, or places that she's going to stand out. Whereas she goes, I'm not saying downtown is everything, everybody's beautiful, but you get what I'm saying. It's a different environment. She's going to have competition there.
Yeah.
And she don't, so, but here, I don't know, at what's the names, whatever lounge, she's the shit. And it's only a select few that are going to come into a place like that, because it's a neighborhood spot. And she often complains about men also, she can meet. I'm like, well, you don't go out. They want too much for parking down there. This, there, this. And I'm like, you're a woman. They're going to cut you some slack, but her insecurity is she hasn't gotten past that. I gotta be the shit, but she's afraid to not be the shit, or to be seen.
That high school popularity type of mentality.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's funny the things that and we're talking people in their 40s.
Yeah, but trauma don't have an age limit.
It doesn't have an age limit, but when you don't address it, you're basically saying, hey, I'm not gonna overcome this. So, but
it sounds like it's almost similar to what Al Bundy does when he reverts back to that high school football game.
Well, and not to pick on women, many a dudes, like I remember when I was younger, there's like, wow, you would hear all this. Oh my God, it's not this stuff, your dreams, or these are the best years of your life. And I'm like, bullshit, not that high school wasn't fun at times, but I got a whole life ahead of me. If the hell with that, but for some people, that is the best years of their life. They've knocked up somebody within the next 2 years, and then they work a job that they hate, or pay child support for kids they can't stand or see, and they can't get ahead. And high school, that was when they had their last bit of freedom. So it is, and this is why they talk about. Like I used to have some friends, those same crew. I'm like, dude, do we always got to talk about high school? Like, damn.
It's a song. Billy Joe wrote a song called "Scenes from an Italian Restaurant," and he talks about Brendan Eddy with the popular study and the king and the queen at the prom. Same thing. Some people, because they never mature beyond that, because they haven't achieved any success beyond that.
That's on Facebook every day.
Yeah, and that's important. Yeah. So you get a lot of people that are stuck there.
Yeah. So some people, if that's all the conversation go back to, and they never talk about nothing in adulthood, and you see it often, like certain grown people that they become irrelevant, and all they could do is post their 5-year-old child and all that stuff. And I always talk about stop putting your kids all over social media and all that stuff.
For a pedophile.
Or elderly people and stuff like that, because they don't have nothing to fall back on. They feel like they course has ran pretty much. And that's what they have to go to, unfortunately.
When you guys look at social media, if you had to assign like let's just say a school level to it, elementary, preschool, high school, college, like what would you say is the average, level of what we see on social media on a day-to-day
Middle school.
basis?
Middle
Middle
school.
school.
Middle school is life. Middle school is life.
Yeah,
Middle
I would
school.
agree. I would agree.
Like,
Middle
okay,
school
on
for sure.
social media, right? Everybody has to think the same way. Everybody has to act the same way. Like you can't say I like blue and everybody else like red because you're gonna get dragged or something.
Yeah.
Like people will literally get into Facebook beefs. People will like literally like argue on social media.
Adulthood is middle school. And Herb heard me say it before. I was like, that's why I stayed there the longest at all my levels of education. At first I was like, damn, I do not want to work with middle school kids. That was the least population. But in education, I've been 12 years into middle school. I'll be like, man, this shit, when they come in and talk to me, I said, this shit certainly sounds like adulthood. Some of the things that they share, I was like, this is the same thing grown-up people go through. And
Right.
Like little kids
it's
be having
crazy.
sex in school.
You know they
Oh
have
man.
sex.
Oh my
Right.
god.
Yeah, that's
And to
not
your point, Dave, I remember when I worked in middle school, I
Mhm.
would have the same experience in regards to, again, the kids coming to you with their problems. It's feeling like you're having an adult conversation, and then
So when
fast
kids
forward
be having
now.
sex in middle school, do you report them to CPS? And I'm not asking that trying to be funny.
No, I mean, a
I've
lot of
personally
times I
never
don't hear
reported
about no.
DPS.
No,
No, I'm not
a
asking
lot
that
of
trying to be
times you get a
funny.
second wind. You hear about it.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
not like
It's
you get caught in the you get
storytelling.
caught in that shit.
Storytelling.
Yeah, story. People
But think
tell. They
about it,
talk.
a 12-year-old having sex, that's not scary to y'all.
We know it's happening.
But it's not scary.
It's scary
All you
because
can
the
do is pray that
repercussions.
they parents have prepared them. You as a school. I mean, when I worked in education, all the instances that we came across, all you as in my case, in my position, it was just like, you just hope that the parents have educated them. As the school, we've given them all the information that we can. It's a lot open nowadays, but back then, it wasn't as open as it is now
So
in
quick
regards
question.
to
So like
social
you a
integration.
guidance counselor. So if a young lady came to school and she was just telling you like how if someone had sex with my boyfriend and I was having sex with him, like what would you do?
Well, they don't openly come and
Yeah.
talk to you like that. Usually, you find out stuff and you have to dig for information. And you barely seldom have somebody come,
Mhm.
even at the high school level. They don't come and talk to you. They don't put their stuff out there like that. You hear about it, and
So
other
like, when you
kids
hear
tell you
about it,
Other
like do you feel
students.
compelled to call them into your office and talk?
depends on the situation. It depends. If they it just depends on the situation.
Mm.
I mean, so maybe it seems like you're kind of like probing at, like, if there's some level of abuse that happened that's obvious and visible,
It's
then
not
yeah,
that, but okay.
you're
I
gonna definitely report that.
No, but
But
it's like okay, when I would all right, so I'm not saying that I'm an angel or whatever, but it's like I did most of my hoeing around as an adult. When I was 12, I was playing with Barbies, okay?
with some girls, it's turning Barbie into real life at
But
12
my
years
thing
old.
is, it's like at 12, you don't have the full understanding of sex. Even some adults don't have the full understanding of sex.
Well,
It's like if my daughter was 12 years old having sex, I would be like, who touched
well,
you?
but see, the thing is, the influence of social media. I often tell the little girls, whatever. I was like, I always tell them, like, when they talk about relationships, y'all too young for that. Y'all don't even understand the complexities of that. So you try to lure them toward certain things, but when they see things and they're watching things, they have too many that phone and the internet uh that engages them.
Mhm.
So again, I always tell people, monitor what your kids doing. They
You
sending
know what's
news out.
Yeah.
They sending out news in elementary.
You know what's
Mhm.
And
interesting.
all
Oh
that
my
stuff.
God.
Go ahead.
I'm
You said
trying
over.
to tell you. I'm trying to tell you, like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm an angel. I mean, Mr. David, you know, but like, damn, like when I was 12, I was playing with Barbies.
As you should have. No, I think
Different
that
generation, man.
the worst thing I think a parent can give a kid is a phone
Mhm.
nowadays. But unfortunately, it's almost these phones are indispensable. And I don't know, I don't have the answer to it, but I'll say this. Well, here's what's interesting to me, and I'll keep it short. When kids had access to less information,
Mhm.
kids of the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, early 90s, they were much more independent minded and
Yeah.
thought they could do much more than these kids who have access to everything. I'd be a fucking triple billionaire if I had access to Chat GPT when I was 14 or 15 or something like that, you know, because your mind is so curious when you're younger. You know, you literally go to a physical building called a library to actually really dig into things. And now it's kind of like you give the kid, what do you give to a kid who has everything at their disposal to keep them curious? But but because they think it's there, they think that I won't say that they think they know it all. They don't explore physically like they once
Right.
used to,
Mhm.
or they get influenced or programmed by what the kids are doing. You know, that's why you got all this cyberbullying nonsense. Or, you know, I don't know exactly what girls you're younger, you know, to one up each other. I don't know if what they wear more makeup or
They wear
get.
more makeup. They talk about BBLs. They get the little Birkin bags. You know, the same stuff that
Well,
adults do.
oh wow.
That's why
And see,
David always says that. David says that middle school is a microcosm of young adulthood.
Yeah. And the thing
yeah,
is, it's hard, whatever, because most of the issues come from girls. These boys, they goofy as hell. They don't really want to do anything. They could get into it, and they like when we were younger. You best of buddies. These girls, they hold on to that shit for like middle school to high school, or whatever the case is. And so it's hard to deal. It's hard to deal with that. But I always look at the infrastructure of how education is set up. Period. Um, we have a lack of black males in education, and certainly at the elementary level, guys don't want to work there because it's more of a nurturing thing. And you may have been raised from a system that say, man, stop crying and all that carrying on. Like, yo, like you got to be hardcore. Where some of these kids they need more, and so the trajectory is just off, whatever. Because again, my thought process is you need some males in the elementary level, and then you just progress, and then you move over to the middle school level. Because once these kids start getting to the third grade, fourth grade, in our days, we used to play with racing cars and the Barbies and all that stuff. But I had spoke on this before. Uh, Elementary issues that used to be back in the day, well, middle school issues back in the day is now elementary issues.
Mhm.
High school issues is middle school issues, that they smoking, vaping, doing all that, trying to hustle. All, so times have changed, and people
And where
need to
are their
wake
parents
up
where
to
they
that.
smoking?
Well,
I
the
mean,
problem comes in with the fact that marijuana has now been legalized in a lot more states. So
And
by
I don't care. Alcohol is legal, but you a kid don't need to be drinking it.
no. It's not about what they need to do.
Yeah.
This is what people need to understand how peer pressure works.
Mhm.
It's the same way that our generation smokes cigarettes or they huff. Took solvents and used it. The only thing that's changed is the drug of choice, if you will. Kids are
I
still
think
kids. They're going to explore some things. They're going to try some things. This is why I've always said, with regards to cell phone, a child of mine would not have a cell phone until they either turn 16 or they master certain things to keep themselves safe. And what I mean by that is this. It's simple. You put a kid in a situation and you run it. If this happens, what do you do? Well, I don't know. You got 3 seconds to figure it out. And people will say, well, that's not fair. In the streets, sometimes all you have is 3 seconds to figure out if a situation is going to go left or if it's going to go right. And if you make the wrong decision, you get caught up.
No, fair enough. You think tie this back into something that Dave mentioned. Okay, we hear this common axiom that women mature faster than men, right? Okay, that's only true from maturing physically. By the time they're 19, 18, 19, they're at the same pace. And that's because a woman, goes through obviously the physical changes.
Yo, I'm gonna say good night because I gotta work in the morning.
All right,
Hey, we appreciate your presence here.
Appreciate you.
Bye, y'all.
And I was gonna ask her something that tied into this, and I guess I'll go after this, not because she left, because I looked at the clock, but no.
Oh yeah.
you have
oh man, it's 8:30. Yeah, I gotta go.
Yeah. Well, we can close it out or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for letting me up, because I haven't talked to y'all in a bit, so gotta do
Go
more.
ahead, finish your point.
I guess. Okay. What I'm saying is that those women, despite the physical things, now on the mental side, okay, obviously realistically, this is why many Black women are going crazy, because they actually think they can physically beat up a man until they get punched by a man. And we see on social media every day who's trying to react like men and always having these fights. But those crazies aside, women are often approached because they've been approached by older men at a younger age. They develop more mental acuity to men, than boys, in a sense, because nobody's, unless he's a super athlete, no older women are really coming after younger boys or whatever. And like I said, unless they're the exception, but many of older men are coming after these young girls and shit. And no, I'm not talking about that fucking clown Dane, whatever his name. I don't even want to say his name or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how somebody's got a lot of noise, background noise. But what I'm getting at is that, so by the time they're 17, 18, for lack of a better term, they have more game on the social sphere than many men at their peers, because they've dealt with these guys, or they've dealt even with the dude checking them out. And because most guys don't try to get into the intellectual space, they can, like a woman can front and act like she likes a man, and the dude don't even pick it up, or is able to pick up that she's just bullshitting with me, knows how to, or they get used and they don't even know that they're being used. And women realize that and they can work with it. And I'll land the plane here. I tell women, I said, if you want to make yourself look better, get in shape. A chick who's a 4 or 5, if she gets in fucking physical shape, she'll make herself a 6'7". I'm sorry, you're 6'7", even an 8 potentially, because dudes like bodies. They can clean themselves up or whatever, but the power of a woman, I guess what I'm getting at is that it's their manipulation abilities and how they can get over on dudes, and they develop that just in the natural cycle. And men, I don't think that half the shit the dudes are going through would be going through if they actually understood this.
Well, one of the things I want to say that, like, even when you think about older guys getting at younger women, that phenomenon happens with boys, but it's underreported. And I was reading, it was a couple of years ago, this whole John Hopkins study that they were saying, like, it was kind of like 50-50. Like, a lot of boys go through the thing that they had encounters with older women, but they just don't report it because shit, that's like that's a cool thing. Um, and I know for a fact that some of my homeboys, and they lived a street over, and we were like 10, 11. They were like, yo, you need to get off your street and come over. Because we was just grinding on such and such mother and all that. And I'm like, because that was foreign. I'm like, yo, what? For real? Like, that's gross. Like, but they were saying they were going through this stuff, and these were like 30-something-year-old women, and they were like 10 or 11. So it happens with boys, but it's just underreported. And that's part of the trauma too. And that's when I think when boys become sexualized because they've been taken advantage of and they act out sexually because they never really told anyone about it.
Many players come from single mother households or households that have had a lot of women in it. And that has given them the ability to, for lack of a better term, understand women from their perspective. You know, even they'll agree it makes no sense what they do, but they know the moves more. In fact, there's a book called Black Players. It was done by two white people in the 70s. And what they noticed is that black men at the time had more, for lack of a better term, game because they experience sex quicker than your average suburban household, either by them physically experiencing sex or them overhearing their parents smashing next door. So the exposure was already within them, whereas a person, you know, who goes in a well-adjusted family, who's going to make sure they're not smashing when the kids are home, or at least when they're asleep, you know what I'm saying? And it was very interesting, like, oh, this is how good that they are. You know, this is how they, you know, get good at these things. So it's an interesting thing. How we should talk about that one of these days.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's something. That's one thing I've been wanting to do too, man. Is dig into this, especially with the ascension of the brother, I can't remember his name right now, the author who's writing the books for boys. There's a lot of
I'm Jawanza Kunjufu.
Right. There's a lot of wealth that he has left behind that we, you know, personally as black men, we need to open up and just say, this is how this can be applied to this situation, or this affects men, young boys going forward.
Yeah, let me add one more thing to that. So look, I try not to get into the celebrity gossip thing, but some things you can't, like this Puffy thing. And today they revealed the sex workers, all the men, right? And all of these things, all these guys had something in common. They were all in shape, which goes to Ron Will's thing about body game and all that.
Yep.
But I personally think that if you're a sex worker as a man, you're a fucking whore, which is not which is not a flattering thing to be, you know, as a man or whatever. No, we run the show, or we the pimp of the operation. You never be a hoe, you know. But guess what? A lot of these women who assess men, that's why I say that lust can overcome this. They don't mind a male whore. You know, I know women who were corporate executives who would go to the projects and smash dudes on their fucking air mattress. And it blew my mind away, but that dude was blowing their back out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just kind of funny.
All she had to do was be up before the sun got up.
Right. And that's what I was saying to the young lady was many of them don't realize, well, they do realize it, but they're not going to tell a group of men this. But that's why I say that lust, or that, you know, that, you know, it's lust, but it's another
attractiveness.
Yeah, thank you. That's sexual here. And I stole this from Ron Wills too. You look at your best looking actor, female or male, we'll say female, and then compare them to a porn star. and you will see the differences in, oh, okay. So you have, I'll just use an example of, it's like you'll use somebody like a Jada Fire. I know she isn't current. Then you compare her to Halle Berry or whatever. Okay. Jada exudes 10 times more sexuality. Okay, if you want to make it on the complexion scale, and what's that skinny chick? I can't think of her name. Misty Stone, that was her name. Yeah, you compare her to I'm just making a point in that these porn stars, and they're an easy example to use, they've tapped into that sexual energy that they know how to use, because all of them are whores anyway. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. I don't mean because of what they do. I mean, them being on film was an advertisement for them being escorts. Most people don't know that, especially back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s.
That's how they were discovered.
Right.
Their marketing, their storytelling.
That's their. Damn, dude, you read that very well. That's their marketing portfolio, and you don't have to listen to me. I'll use a Miss Cleo. I heard an interview of her. I like to dig out their interviews, and she was like, I really only did porn to advertise for when I was an escort or whatever. Or dudes want to book their favorite porn star. No, you literally have men out there like that. Look at what these rappers smash. Like, why are y'all smashing? I mean, fine, smash them, but you're paying. Man, get the F out of here.
I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it.
You would think they would have a choice of the litter, that they don't have to go that route, whatever shit. It could come to them.
Look at Superhead being a pass around, Yeah.
And she wrote that book to call out people, calling out folks.
But developing that sexual energy is something that any man can do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not gonna say I know the how-to kit, but I will also say that those men who grow up with single mothers or these dysfunctional ass lives, I don't know. I think I like to just simply summarize it as, because they're dealing with dysfunctional women, and that's why there's a connection.
And one of the things I always say when they always talk about the uncle or whatever that's molesting the little girls or whatever, there's aunties doing the same thing, and it's probably
you're right about that.
It's at a 50-50 rate that is happening. So don't just think that, when your kid goes to stay the night over somebody else who's over there, think about the little boys too that go somewhere that it may be the mother, the aunt, or whatever the case is. So we got a fucked up situation all around that sometimes we just don't think about. We just sweep it under the rug, and this just start coming out, and that's where all the trauma comes into place.
Mm-hmm.
You're right about that. Can't wait to the topic next week. Good talking with you, Dane. Tell her about
all right, man. Yeah,
all right, everybody.
Good,
I appreciate y'all coming through. Whatever, always a pleasure. All right, be easy. Herb, where you at? Ordering that? Don't hide with that wing order. We about to close it out. So, I'm gonna wait till Herb come back on here, but. So you see the dynamics of the conversation. You bring different people into it, and they bring different experiences. This is what conversations is all about. This is what growth is all about. But oftentimes, y'all like to have the same conversation with the same people, the same crew. How do you grow? When some of y'all conversations is always the same. So you build and grow and you learn from each other. So that's one of the things. I enjoyed the conversation tonight. We had one of my former students came on. What she said, she's 32. Well, all of us is, I don't know how old Dame is, but we're all in our 50s. But that doesn't mean we can't have a conversation and build upon that. Because at the end of the day, we all have to exist together. So that's what great conversation or connections or courageous conversations is about. And I don't know what Herb's doing, whatever, but um, I'm not just gonna be talking for the sake of talking. And he gonna come in and be like, oh, there you go. So
Oh, you good, man?
no, the
I
brothers
had to do
the brothers went out, so we didn't know if you was making that private wig special.
no, man. I had to cut back on that stuff.
All right. So
But I'm good though. I don't have anything to say. No
yeah,
closing point.
I was just saying about the whole conversation, like the importance of other people coming involved, and you're intertwining different conversations, even with Latasha, Latravia. She brought a different perspective. She kind of came in raw, and she put that out there. But
Yeah.
that's growth. That's growth, and that's courageous conversations. Like, you say you eat meat, but maybe that's their best way of interpreting it. And it may sound raunchy or whatever, but and I keep saying, many of y'all had the same old conversations with the same old fucking people, and
Right.
you wonder why you don't grow because you're still listening to the same perspective. But when you come with somebody like Sir Tice, coming from a different avenue, Dwayne coming with his business and his pedigree, and then you have the Travia was coming with something different. You have to take a step back and like, damn, I never thought about that. I never looked at it like that. But y'all keep having these same old conversations with the same old people and see how you grow. And see how you grow.
Yep.
And that's what make the Council Corner special than all the other people who's trying to do it. Because they keep talking to the same old people with the same old perspectives. And there's nothing. If you don't get resistance, you're not going to get growth. All you're going to get is a yes man, no man, or whatever. But when you have people pushing back on your views, then that's when you grow.
Yeah, if you want to see something different, you got to take a different path. It don't make it. It's like somebody. Well, I come to work, it's the same old thing every day. Well, do something different. Find a different job. Wear something different. Say something different. Behave differently. Bring a game. Change the atmosphere.
Got to do something different. And when you do something different, that's when you'll see dynamics change. And if you're a guy or a woman and you're like, oh, I'm trying to get in this dating pool, and you start doing something different and you notice you like, damn, I never seen him with that on. I never seen her with that on. She changed it up. Damn, she actually looked good. I never seen her with no jeans on. Damn, she wear it well. Or, wow, I never seen this guy. Oh, he don't got no hat on today. But oh my God, I didn't know his hair was like that. You got to do something different. But don't let me tell y'all no different. Y'all keep doing what y'all keep doing. And I just sit back and just watch.
What do you always say? Greater than, less than, equal to?
Yeah, exactly. All right, good people. We out. And I don't think we're going to be having a show next week because I got other things going on, family, things that going on. About to head later on in the weekend to South Carolina, Columbia, hang out with the family there. Which you already know. When we come back, it's always going to be fire. And stay tuned for the footage and all that stuff because at the end of the day, got to spend time with family.
Yep.
Got to do things with family and create memories because this is the things that give you stuff to talk about. Because those conversations be epic when you get around an environment with them. So make sure you try to take advantage of that. Because again, some people always talk to me. They're like, oh, I'm going on Facebook and all that stuff because it's always about rest in peace and all that stuff. And I made a comparison. Like sometimes somebody terminally ill, and then somebody got a brand new job, but y'all lean toward the person they get all the likes, all that, and then somebody with a whole a promotion in the job making double as much. Y'all don't like that. But the reality is, I do agree with every time you go through somebody then died. Like young folks, 50 something. In a couple weeks,
Speaking of,
I'll be 55. That shit kind of scary because my pops died at shit. And sometimes you can use that as a measurement. I think he died at like 64. Of course, men have a different path, but sometimes heredity and stuff like that, DNA. I don't think people think about stuff like that because if I was on the path with him, I would say, "Damn, I got 9 more years to live."
right.
That shit's scary because I'm like, I got so much to do in that time. But I ain't trying to spook y'all out. Just think about it. And then, like Herb said, get to go to the doctors, uh, listen to your body, and different things like that. Now, I'm sounding like a hypocrite because I went to the doctor. It's talking about my shoulder, my neck, and all that. I was supposed to make an appointment, and I didn't do it because some days I'm feeling good, some days I'm not. But I'm really trying to wait till after the school year is and handle all of that because it's just I went through a lot with the car situation, and I try to be fair. I'm not one of them coworkers that be like, I don't give a fuck, man. They could be shorthanded and all that. I try to have a balance, and I think that's another concern too. This younger generation, y'all don't want to fucking work for nothing. Y'all don't want to do nothing. I don't know what money y'all think y'all go get or what y'all got going on, but some of us old heads like to have like to have a work ethic, like to show up to work, like to be reliable, and we think about our counterparts. Yeah, I don't give a damn what they could be, but that's a whole nother conversation. And see, this is how conversations start. That's a whole nother conversation. Work ethic. All right, good people. We out. Anything else, Herb? You want to close out with?
Squally said he's gonna holler at you. I thought I'm coming to from my home today.
You said Squally?
Yeah, he's looking good, man.
That's my man, Squally, my family, cousin, whatever. Happy birthday, happy belated birthday, also. And I'm gonna tell y'all this, and I'm gonna say that, and I'll probably try to clip that part. That is one of the people that taught me sports and competitiveness. I remember going to the store, walking down Ontario Avenue. Never met them, but they were playing tackle football in the yard. And they called me over. I had never met them, and we were playing. And just, he probably was, and people probably don't even realize, he probably in the top 5 most athletic people in Niagara Falls. That could do it all: football, basketball, boxing, fast as hell. Probably the top. If we really wanted to do something in Niagara Falls to say, let's have a reunion of the top athletes and all that, he probably was one of the all-time greats. And I can tell you in boxing, his movement and all that. He was Floyd Mayweather before Floyd Mayweather. His twitch movements and all that stuff, and his feints and all that stuff. Yeah, I learned a lot from that. That shit opened me up a lot of motherfucking easy shots on people with twitch movements and all that. But people don't know about twitch movements and all that stuff because some people don't have it. And I always said, I call it cat instincts. But he was one of them people that growing up, he made athletics better for me because he was the ultimate competitor. Shout out to Squally Kyle Valerie. What you say? He turned 56. or
Yeah.
57. Yeah,
56.
56. So still in shape, still putting in the work, whatever. Overcame obstacles and all that stuff. And that's all good, whatever. I'm definitely gonna clip this part, whatever, for sure. And I will tag you in it because shit, you one of the ones, if I talk about my life lessons and the value of people, you brought the competitive fire out in me. And you probably don't even know that, but you did. And but hey, that's what it's about. Acknowledging people who bring out the best in you. And oftentimes we don't do that. We wait till they dead and shit. And then you want to talk about it. But I'm giving you your flowers, man. Peace be unto you and keep doing what you're doing. Keep staying in shape and keep staying healthy. You're always going to be a reflection and a lesson to a teacher to others. All right, we out. Gotta
All right,
go.
people. Y'all take care.
All right, everybody be good, be well, be safe. See you next time. Peace.